Good morning and thanks for joining me. My name is Abna Tebi and this is New Day Saturday edition. A very warm welcome to you. We're coming to you live from the studios of TV3 here in Accra. We're also live on 3FM 92.7 in Accra. We are also live on Connect 97.1 FM in Takoradi in the Western region. And of course, we're connecting globally with our audience on the internet at 3news.com. As usual, we're running from now till 10 a.m. And now let's do a quick look on the dashboard to see what's coming up on the show this morning. We're looking at the dismissal of the motion by the minority in Parliament, which sought to investigate the President's alleged acceptance of a Ford expedition vehicle. Now, I'll start this off with a quote from the Right Honourable Speaker, Dowa Jaho. I'm quoting him. He says, "As Speaker of this House, I am of the firm conviction that constitutional bodies must respect each other in the performance of their duties in order to avoid role conflicts. I am therefore unable to admit this motion. I hereby direct the clerk to return the motion to the member in whose name it stands in line with Standing Order 79-4. Now, these were the words of the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament on Thursday, September 1st, 2016, when he dismissed the motion by the minority seeking an investigation into the Ford expedition gift saga. But this is not the first time a motion of this nature has been dismissed by a Speaker of Parliament. Now, when you take a look back at history or into history, you realize that in 1998, the then Speaker, Justice D.F. Annan, dismissed a motion from the minority in Parliament, then again it was NPP, which sought to investigate some alleged corruption by the then President, Jerry John Rawlings. Then in 2005, we had the Speaker in Parliament, then Sechi Hughes, also dismissing another motion brought by the NDC, then at the time minority, which also sought to investigate some alleged corruption issues about the President at the time, John Agyekum Kufuor. Now, several years down the lane, 2016, we seem to be faced with the same issues. Is this a case of same script, different cast? Or perhaps we're looking at an issue about Parliament and the fact that perhaps Parliament is not living up to its expectations of being playing the supervisory function it should over the executive. Or perhaps we could turn and look at Shraj and wonder whether or not Shraj has been able to manifest itself as being capable of dealing with issues that it has been constitutionally mandated to look into. My panel will be weighing in on this when we begin talking about the issues. Now, from an allegation of $100,000 Ford gift, we move on to another allegation involving another sum of $100,000, and this time we're talking about $100,000 cash bribe alleged to have been offered to the moderator of the Presbyterian Church, the former moderator of the Presbyterian Church, Professor Emmanuel Marty. Now, this $100,000 didn't come alone. Apparently, it came with a gift of a house in the Trasaco Valley area with a swimming pool and, of course, a V8 vehicle. Now, there's so much controversy about this. There has been so much reaction, different reactions indeed, from the populace. People are wondering why this kind of allegations at this time, especially when it's not supported by facts. And because the moderator didn't mention names, he said some politicians came to him and offered him that. Who are these politicians? People are wondering. Now, on the show this morning, we'll be looking at the propriety of these allegations, which on the heels of it came counter allegations by the former PRO of the Presbyterian Church, and then the Presbyterian Church since then also sought to set the record straight. We'll be going into details on that issue. And then we'll look at the Africa Watch magazine and allegations about Nana Addo's health. Now, the campaign season is here again, and we are back talking about the health of presidential candidates. It seems the only presidential candidate under the Fourth Republic who voluntarily offered to the public details about his health status is Dr. Kwesi Indom of the Progressive People's Party. Now, in the year 2008, you will remember that several allegations were made about the health of the late President John Evans Tamils, which were categorically denied consistently by his party, the National Democratic Congress. Now this week, the Africa Watch magazine has put out its August 2016 edition, and in that edition, there is an article about the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, talking about Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Now, the article makes references to some medical records which were allegedly obtained from a medical facility in the United Kingdom by name the Wellington Hospital. Now, while citing this particular issue, which is in respect of the NPP flag bearer, we may want to turn our attention to the bigger discussion or the bigger issue on the need to disclose or otherwise the health status of people seeking to occupy the highest office of the land and be given the mandate of the people to run the country in the interest of the people. So we'll be looking at this issue within the bigger context and decide whether indeed it's even prudent or useful at all, or would serve any use if political or presidential candidates, for that matter, disclose such private information. And then, of course, when we have time, we'll turn to the political party campaign trail to see what issues are coming up from there. Campaign promises going on and on there. We'll be looking at the feasibility of these and whether or not it would affect the choice of presidential presidential candidates and parliamentarians at the December 7 polls. So these are the issues lined up for discussion today. Let me bring in the panel for today's discussions. We have Honorable Atta Achia. He is the NPP Member of Parliament for Ibuakwa South constituency. Next to him is Mr. Kojopoku. He's an energy expert and also a political commentator.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Kwame Jantwa. He is a member of the CPP, also a commissioner at the NDPC and vice chairperson of PIAC. Next to Mr. Jantwa is the Honorable Murtala Mohammed. He's a Deputy Minister, Trade and Industry, and the NDC MP for Nantong constituency. He says he'd like to be referred to as comrade, and so that's what it is. Welcome, gentlemen. It's good to have you here.
How are you? Good morning.
Very well.
Good morning to those at home.
Great. So we'll start off our conversation with, obviously, the dismissed motion by the minority in Parliament on Thursday. And I will start with you, Honorable Natachia.
The pleasure is mine.
Great. Just so we have a sense, I would want us to know exactly what the NPP was seeking to achieve with that motion.
Okay. The first premise to all this is that we have a book which you all subscribe to as our mode of governance. And that book is so important. It's a constitution. It is like the Bible to Christianity. If you take the Bible from Christianity, then there's nothing. In fact, everybody owes his office, the president, even the setup called the legislature, and they owe their existence from the Constitution. And if you look at the preamble of the Constitution, it talks about accountability and probity. We have the first gentleman of the land. A huge allegation of international dimension has been leveled against him, that somebody gave him a forward expedition, whether in exchange of projects or whatever. And what is very sad is that he took it. And it is being said that later on he made it like a public property. The inconsistency is the fact that how could a private donation become a public property? Because how come somebody will go as a surrogate and go and pay duties and make an under declaration that the forward expedition is a second hand and it's a brand new and there's loss of revenue to the state because of these false representations, and under our customs law it's a criminal offense. Later in time it is said that we added it to the pool. At what time? Was it contemporaneous or when the whole saga was uncovered? So we of the NPP believe that we cannot have a presidency where he's sort of being vilified and disgraced. An international ramification is that whenever he's outside this country trying to do business for Ghana, people with lenses, diplomatic, looking at him. Is this not this man who is being accused of, taking a forward expedition to make one foreigner happy? Is it in exchange of jobs or whatever? So we offer them, and I want to stress, the best opportunity in the world. President Mahama, here is soap, here is water, a very neat white towel. Come and have a good bath in Parliament. So at the end of the day, we give you a clean bill of health. Guess what? The Parliament that we invited him to come, we are inviting him to come, he has a majority. The bipartisan committee that we're craving for will have a majority of his party MPs being there. What better forum will clean the president more than Parliament, the people's representatives? And this is why we felt that we should come with a motion for a bipartisan committee to be put in place to investigate this matter. And this is the reason.
Okay.
And this is what has been torpedoed just by the fiat of the speaker.
Very well.
So this is the background.
You made, quickly, and then I move on to others, but you made reference to the fact that, yes, we're guided by the Constitution and all. And the speaker clearly, in his dismissal of the motion, said that this is something that SHRAJ is already handling, and indeed SHRAJ is vested with the jurisdiction to deal with such a matter. And so what exactly is, why doesn't that seem to be satisfactory enough for the minority?
Let me tell you something which is sad, and I hold the speaker in reverence. Let me tell you something. I even have a private engagement with him, and he's been mentoring me. But when it comes to constitutional matters and the sanity of the nation, then friendship does not matter anymore. I can assure you and tell you that the whole law that the speaker quoted is sitting upside down, unfortunately.
Which is the case of the Kudjeto Ablakwa
yes.
case? Yes.
The Kudjeto Ablakwa case related to code of conduct of officers. And the president is the first officer of the land. And the three issues that the law says SHRAJ can deal with exclusively. The first is a conflict of interest situation. The second has gotten to do with an organization in which you are a director and you are forbidden to become a chairman of the board. And the last one relates to declaration of assets. No more. No more.
But reference could be made to Article 287.
Yes.
Yes, which is talking about the fact, if I may read, that an allegation that a public officer has contravened or has not complied with a provision of this chapter, in this chapter 24, shall be made to the Commissioner for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, and in the case of the Commissioner of Human Rights and Administrative Justice, to the Chief Justice, who shall, unless the person concerned makes a written admission to of the contravention or non-compliance, cause the matter to be investigated. And this has the heading Complaints of Contravention of Chapter 24.
Let me have that and show you that this Chapter 24,
which is looking at the Code of Conduct of Public Officers. And
so here, three issues, and nobody can improve the content of the Constitution. Conflict of interest, other public appointments. So the chairman, you are in a setup and you want to be chairman. Then the third, very important, has gotten to do with you not filing your assets and the rest of it. This is the remit. Even in the Kudjeto Ablakwa case, it was clear that when allegations of corruptions are leveled against a public officer, nobody can tie the litigant or the complainant, if you like, to go to a SHRAJ. You could go to court and deal with the issues. So therefore, I have the whole authority here. It never said that when an allegation of corruption, when people are saying that let's find out whether the president has violated any law of the land, there's an exclusive place that we should go, which is SHRAJ. But let me tell you something which is of a more serious character. You know, we are the custodians of the public purse, to the extent that we oversight the executive and the other arm of government in relation to monies which are of public character. And the Constitution says that whenever we have an Auditor General going into any public accounts, the report has a final destination, and that is Parliament. So if you care to know, the Auditor General has come out with some serious issues in relation to the same gentleman who constructed the perimeter wall at Ouagadougou. So this is a matter which is in Parliament.
Yes, and rightly so. I mean, there's been the quotes of Article 187, which is where the Parliament's responsibility to set up a committee to look into such issues do come up. But I think that there's that distinction between that process and what the minority started with this motion. Perhaps we could look at that into details. But I would, before bringing in Honorable Mutala, I just want to have your take. So if this motion had been admitted and investigations had gone on and there was a finding, what would the minority have done with that finding? Either whether it was good, whether it was to say that vindicates the president or actually incriminate him of sorts.
It will be upholding the tenets of the Constitution. If it was said that he was innocent, that is good. If it said that, oh, he's liable for those infractions, it will be very clear that nobody is above the law, and even the Parliament has come out with findings, clear findings that indeed and in fact the president has paid obeisance to the Constitution. When we want to uphold the Constitution, why should anybody be faulted for that? That's the whole point of the matter. When somebody says that, let's have respect for the Constitution, how can anybody say you are being dubious? You have an ulterior motive. And guess what? What is very embarrassing is that when you have been touting that the foundation of your own party is probity and accountability, and probity and accountability is spelled out strongly in the preamble of the Constitution. And therefore, if there is an exercise for us to test probity and accountability, why should it be offensive?
Very well. Let me move on to Honorable Comrade. Yes. So this is the NPP side seeking to ensure probity and accountability and all of that. Why is the minority or majority excited about the fact that their motion was shut down? Because if indeed it was to give this opportunity for the president to be cleared.
First and foremost, let me say good morning to your cherished viewers and especially the good people of Nanton constituency. And if you send a silly motion to Parliament, if you occasion the summon of Parliament through a silly motion, as they did, you go through the kind of embarrassment you go through. But what was serious on that day? He sits here and he's talking about protecting democracy and constitution. He knows and he's aware that respect to the Speaker is not the person Honorable Duajo. It's the office of the Speaker of Parliament. And he's aware that any time Speaker enters, we all are enjoined to stand up. And when Speaker is leaving the chamber, we stand up. Ask them. He was seated, the entire minority, they were seated when the Speaker was going on. In fact, the majority leaders stood up and they shouted at him to sit down. Yet you sit here and then you want to preach. Well, please, I listen to you. Please, now,
yes, Can I finish? Let's look at this.
No, I'm looking. He's talking
because
about. Can I please?
Yes, sure.
He's talking about the Constitution. He's talking about democracy, and that all that silly thing they took us through, it was to protect the democracy of this country. And I'm pointing out to him that he's not being sincere with his conscience, and he's not being sincere with your viewers. That they demonstrated absolute disrespect to the very democracy he pretends here to be protecting. When the Speaker was leaving, they all sat through. The minority leaders stood up. They shouted at him to sit down, and he sat down. That was just that. Please.
Honorable,
please. We will the minority leaders stood up, and then you guys shouted at him. So don't sit here.
But yes, Honorable, let's discuss what we have here. This is fine.
Please, can I finish?
Yes, but we are looking at the motion that was shut down. Yes.
I beg you. It will be good you allow me to flow. I am talking about the very things he spoke about. And I'm just pointing out to people.
But I'm here to also steer the conversation
I don't
in a
have any
certain way, and I wouldn't want to
no,
be veering off.
I'm
That's
not.
why
He's
I'm doing
talking
this.
about
Yes.
protecting democracy.
So yes, you've made your point. Let's carry on now, please.
He's talking about protecting democracy. I don't think you told him that I shouldn't be. Let me make my point. If you give me time, then I make my points within that time. I beg you. So don't sit here and pretend to be democratic and holier than thou. What are the issues? The whole of this rubbish started with Joe FM and Manasseh Azuri. On the 15th of June, the very day His Excellency the President lost his mother, they had no respect for ethics. They had no respect for the sensibilities of the dead. At the time when the mother was not even buried, they went ahead with this story. And this is un-Ghanaian, this is unethical, this is un-African, and this is something that we ought not. And the intention was simple: to maximize the grief of His Excellency the President. I have lost my mom. I have lost both parents. And anybody who lost his mother can understand how it feels. It doesn't matter your age. On that very day, they went relentlessly with this useless story. And I'll give you the reasons.
Could we be
now,
quite more
Manasseh
basic
Azuri, in the
please?
documentary of Joy FM, in their bid to make Nana Addo the president, they came out with series of stories and documents and claimed.
Who came out with you?
Manasseh Azuri's documentary on Joy FM, and that is the basis on which the MPPs have wasted our time in Parliament.
But then there was that Auditor General's report which started
I will come to
so.
that. There isn't any Auditor General report in that in anybody. That is absolutely not true. I will come to that. Now, Manasseh claimed, I'm just looking at the reasons why they wasted our time. I guess that is interested to your viewers. Manasseh claimed that the car was given to His Excellency the President in 2012. Now, he didn't tell the people of this country when the car was given within 2012. He just made it nebulous, 2012. They also claimed that there was a sole sourcing for that particular company, which is absolutely false. There wasn't any sole sourcing. And I can give you names of the companies who bid for the construction of the wall. I can give you.
But Honorable, isn't that why perhaps this investigation was going to be launched and then these issues will come up? I do understand, because these are allegations as they stand.
I believe you will listen to
yes,
me. Will you allow me to?
I would definitely allow you.
I'm giving you the reason that there wasn't any need for any investigation. And
by
more importantly, when more importantly, when Shiraj is doing it, and I would come to
exactly that I would get. But when you're still referring to things that are still allegations.
They are not allegations. I'm providing you with facts. You even allow me to make my point.
No. You will make your point, definitely. I'm not going to gag you at all.
No, you are gagging me.
I'm not. Carry
in fact, you are. And I believe your viewers will know you are.
No,
can I make my point?
Please carry on.
Exactly. I'm saying that Manasseh claimed that the vehicle was given to the president in 2012. He didn't tell the good people of this country which month in 2012.
Maybe if he came to the investigation, that would have.
You don't need the facts are available. You don't need.
But whose side? It's just one-sided. You see, that's the thing with investigations.
Please. I'm not talking about somebody's side and my side. I'm saying that the facts are available for everybody.
Where is that?
I'm telling you the mischief behind what they are doing. Can I
carry on, Honorable, please?
The Ministry of Communication issued a statement. The very day that thing was done, the next day the ministry issued a statement. They disregarded that statement and went ahead with this silly motion. And that is the point I'm trying to establish. I am saying that he claimed that there was sole sourcing, which is absolutely not true. The companies which the Ghana Embassy in Burkina sent to the Minister of Foreign Affairs as to those who bid for it. One, they were Cananzo, Pire, CF, and the CFA, the quotation was 356, 136,603. Then you have another Cositrap, CFA, which is 477,892. You have another one, Ibus, which is 462,608,949. The lowest of all the three who bid for it was the company that was given the contract. So it is not true that it was sole sourcing. And they went, part of the reasons why they wasted our time was that one, the president took a bribe. The person never had a contract. It was sole source, and I'm saying that it's not true. That's what I'm trying to establish. The third one, that Joy FM and the same Manasseh Azuri went ahead and said that there was an audit inquiry into that particular thing, which is absolutely a lie. Absolutely a lie. On the fence wall project, you see, the Ouagadougou mission was audited in 2013. Now, if you look at PAC, which is the Public Accounts Committee, which is a member, George Lowe asked a question on the issue of, and they said that issue bordered on reconciling the figures, because you remember they said it was about $6,000 US. It bordered on reconciling the figures. There is no any Auditor General's report, and you can go and check from the 2013 Auditor General's report whether there was a query on the building, on the construction of the wall. That is another lie. Yet they want to push Ghanaians to believe this. But let me also make another point. Manasseh Azuru also said that the company, that is the Kanazo Construction Limited, won the fence wall contract in July 2012, and the fourth expedition was given to the president in October 2012. So July 2012. The expedition was given to the president October 2012. So certainly it couldn't be a case, as they are trying to deceive the people of this country, that, oh yes,
you don't understand,
please, can I finish?
Please,
oh,
let him carry on.
You know
please.
everything, but you have exposed yourself, and I'm trying to expose you the more.
Come
so
here,
just
please,
keep on.
let's
You know everything. You said you were going to teach me law here. I'm sad that you are not teaching me the law. Now, the other one is that if you look at that, the process for the fence wall project began in 2011, at the time when President Mahama was not the president of the Republic of Ghana. 2011. It is also important to also state that there is another project, and that project has to do the Dodo Pepesu Road on Eastern Corridor was won in 2011 when President Mahama was not even the president of the Republic of Ghana. And in any case, you are talking about contracts that are handled and sponsored by international community. And you know the meticulous nature and the transparent nature with which that contract can be awarded. Now, you can't lie to the people of this country and want the speaker to admit that. But let me just talk about the other one. Manasseh, on the 17th of June, on the same Joy from Ghana Connect, claimed that there was no document to the vehicle. And that is part of the reason why the MPP is wasting our time. That is absolutely not true. He said that what was contained in it was what they describe as laissez-passer. The laissez-passer, and if he doesn't know, the laissez-passer is something, it can, in fact, even if you don't have a passport, they can give you a laissez-passer to travel. Now, any other document, any other transaction that is done with laissez-passer, there is a record that our embassy in Burkina Faso would keep. And in fact, if you are crossing even the border, the Ouagadougou-Ghana border, they would have to give them a copy of the laissez-passer. This is enough, a document to anybody. In the unlikely event of the MPP coming to power, at any point in time, they can access it. And you can easily go, there wasn't any expose. Now, to claim that there wasn't any documentary evidence to read, that is another absolute lie in their desperate bid to make Nana Addo the president. So don't sit here and pretend to be a Democrat, defender of the democracy, when you disrespected the very democracy. You can't.
Very well. Let me bring in Mr. Jantua. You disrespected Parliament. No, please, comrade, hold it.
You don't know.
Comrade, you had your turn. I'm moving on to another panelist. Please, let's respect each other's time. Mr. Jantua, you've listened to both sides. Your issue on this, was this something that should have been perhaps considered in Parliament?
Good morning to my panelists and good morning to viewers. Now, the first point of call I want clarified was the MPP looking to impeach the president? One, was the MPP looking to get the president into Parliament to explain why he took these vehicles? These are two things that aren't clear to me, because I understand that in their claim there was no word of impeachment in the claim.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm not sure what the motive was.
That's why I asked earlier,
Okay.
Honorable,
Yes.
to tell us exactly what they sought to achieve with that.
Okay. Let
Do you
me
want me to answer?
no. Let
Honorable,
me
come
finish.
back to you
When I
when
finish, you can
Patience.
you can answer. The second bit is that, in terms of where this actual case should have been taken to, for them to get maximum results, would that not have been the Supreme Court of Ghana? Because the Supreme Court of Ghana is responsible for interpreting the Constitution. So why didn't they take it to the Supreme Court, since the Speaker himself indicated that he had taken his verdict from the
A decided
Ablakwa
case, right.
decided case? So that would have been...
But was this a matter that required constitutional interpretation?
Well,
or is this a matter that requires...
Well, it was a process of trying to impeach the president.
No.
Well, they said it's not.
Well, they said but that was what we all heard.
From who?
Well,
but that's a position which is... Yes.
So what was the objective of the action? Because the CPP Youth Wing had actually sent a petition to Shraj for them to get the president to answer. And apparently the president did send a response. And so, was Parliament the right place for this thing to be heard? So far as I can see, there was no way under the sun, with the majority that the NDC have in Parliament, there was no way under the sun that they were going to win this thing.
So you thought it was an exercise in futility right from the get-go?
Right from the get-go, they could have tried other ways and other means of doing it. Other ways and other means of doing it. Perhaps, the thought that came to me when I heard was that if it so happened that the speaker allowed it to go through and the NDC majority shut it down, the MPP in their campaign could have said, you see, they are supporting, quote and unquote, a president who is corrupt. They've all ganged together and shut the whole thing down. They could have said that. Was that the motive for it? I hope it wasn't. Because what we're trying to do here is to make sure that whoever is in public office should stand tall in whatever they do. Now, what I don't really understand is that if this vehicle was given to President Mahama when he was vice president, why didn't he declare it there? Why didn't he say anything about it there? Why have we waited all this while for it to come out? Now, the other question I ask is that any property, any gift, anything that is given to a sitting president or a vice or executive, is it not the property of the state?
No.
Is it not the property of the state?
Any gift.
Are they any gift? Is it not? I know. Maybe I'm wrong. I know.
Depends on the capacity in which it's given.
I know in the UK, and I also know in America that any gift that is given to a president is the property of the state.
Yeah.
Property of the state. You cannot claim that is your own. Hence, when the vehicle that Gaddafi gave to President Kufuor, was that not the property of the state, or was that particularly for Kufuor? Now, we have to be very careful with the way we play politics in this country and the rules and regulations that go with our political mandate. Because if I am a minister and somebody wants a contract and the person is trying to bribe me, I should be upright and bring it out. The same way you, as a host of this program, if I misconstrue myself or say things that are untoward, you can walk me off the set. You have that power to do that. And so when the people vote an individual into power, he should live over and above what his responsibilities are.
But that is, he should. That is what we are hoping the person could do. But what are the systems that would ensure that the person is kept on the straight and narrow? Exactly. I mean,
it shouldn't be a hope.
You're depending on the person's judgment or conscience.
Abna, what I'm saying to you is that the moment they vote you into a certain position, you are responsible to the people. And anybody who does anything ultra-virus to that position, you're supposed to say it. You find it in all these countries that we quote. In the UK, when somebody does something wrong and even the minister has nothing to do with it, immediately resigns. What did, the ex-prime minister do? What did he do? Huh? He resigned because he lost Brexit. He could have stayed if he wanted to. Would we see that happen here? So, if I decide right now to stand for presidency, I should know that I am going into an office that requires maximum authority, one, that requires me to be open and transparent in everything I do and accountable. Now, I don't know how many parliamentarians have declared their assets.
I have.
Well, I said I didn't point to you. I said I don't know how many parliamentarians have declared their assets. Let the likes of the Joy FM, the City FM and all them, let them go into parliament today with the microphone and ask every parliamentarian, have you declared, haven't you declared? And let's see what will happen. And that is in the Constitution. That is in the
talking about
Constitution.
systems.
Yes, talking about systems, talking about transparency, talking about accountability. It starts from there.
That is what we are upholding.
Now,
Okay.
if it's so, if
Let him.
it's look, wasn't it the same? I've forgotten the gentleman's name, but he was an MP. He's not an MP. During the sale of the Ghana Telecom, what did he say? He came out and he said they had offered 5,000. He didn't get his share.
Oh, yes, I remember.
Yes. Did you take the 5,000?
And comrade, please.
Ask him.
No,
I didn't
you are not doing that.
heckle
Mr. Jantua,
anybody.
that's peaceful for
I-
your
yes.
Mr. Jantua.
It's a rhetorical
Mr.
question.
Jantua is on the exactly.
It's
It's
a
a rhetorical
rhetorical
question. You don't have to answer
It's
that.
a rhetorical
No.
question. Whether he took the 5,000.
Mr. Jantua is on the floor. Please allow him. Mr. Jantua, carry on.
You
Please.
said we shouldn't call you honorable. We should call
said
you
comrade,
comrade.
yes. The
When you were
honorable
giving your
Comrade
submission,
submission.
when he interjected, you said he shouldn't interject. Please give me time to talk.
Senior comrade,
I beg
don't
you.
say-
I beg you. Give me time to. Don't let me lose my train
of thought, yes.
of thought. Where was I?
You're talking about PC for
Now you can't take back.
PC for making reference to the 5,000 in the Vodafone. Yes.
Yes. What did parliamentarians say? What did parliamentarians say? Did anybody stand up to say, yes, I took the 5,000 and because of that I'm resigning? Nobody did. We need to get to a point in this country with our politics that when things are not done right, you're able to say, it was done wrong, I don't agree. Now, I don't think...
But how do we get there?
We get there by choosing the right people.
And putting in place the right systems
Yes.
and making sure the systems work.
Yes. Yes. Make sure the systems work.
Exactly.
And the accountability is also on the people, not only on those who are put in place.
Exactly,
It's on the
and that's
people.
why I will move on to. I'm moving on to Mr. Kojo Poku here, which you're talking about the people, and the people in a democracy are represented by the members of parliament,
Precisely.
and that's why for me, Parliament's role is so key. And looking at the trend of or the history precedents, 1998, 2005, and to date, all such motions have been dismissed, and you realize that it's a situation of same script, different cast.
same
Who's on
football team.
exactly? So I asked the question: Has Parliament?
Just before he comes in, the last point I wanted to make was that the cost element.
Very well.
Cost element.
The cost element, yes.
Has Parliament created financial loss to the state?
Great. Please
by this?
hold your thoughts
The
there.
Speaker.
We're going to take a listen to
Parliament.
the Speaker of Parliament, and we'll be back to continue with our conversations here.
After carefully studying the correspondence from the Shraj, I have come to the conclusion that the matter at issue here is not different in material particular from the matter under investigation by the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice. I am of a firm conviction that constitutional bodies must respect each other in the performance of their duties in order to avoid role conflicts.
He said the motion itself, which was presented by the minority leader, was not properly submitted.
Standing Order 38-1, under which I summoned this House, does not take away the discretion of the Speaker under Standing Order 79-4. Neither does it take away the role of the Business Committee under Standing Order 53-1. Having regard to Standing Order 79-4, I would have returned the motion to the member in whose name it stands as being inadmissible. but the motion was tied contemporaneously to the request for the recall of the House, understanding Order 38.1, and therefore leaves me with no discretion in recalling the House.
He therefore...
Welcome back. You're watching New Day Saturday Edition, and that was the Speaker giving his remarks when he was dismissing the motion by the minority, which is the subject matter of our conversation now. I will be moving on to you, Mr. Kojo-Poku. I think we ended off on Mr. Janto's point about Parliament and how Parliament is to represent the people and ensure that the people's interests are guaranteed or ensured. I want to ask this question, given the trend of how such motions have been dealt with, at least under the Fourth Republic. 1998, DFN dismissed something, the late DFN dismissed something similar. In 2005, something similar was brought against President J. Kufuor. Same was dismissed, and we have this.
No, it was not dismissed. I've checked, and I have the Hansard. It's gotten to do with somebody questioning whether state funds were involved in his renovation of his property.
But there was one about the hotel Kufuor.
The decision of the Speaker was what?
There was no decision.
So basically, in other words, Honourable, that we still didn't go into the issue to interrogate it, to find out exactly what... And that's my point, that has Parliament demonstrated perhaps it's not looking out for the interests of the people?
No, of course
or being
not.
very partisan?
We have seen in many acts of Parliament that they don't really represent the will of the people. The way people representative are supposed to act, it's not the way that the Parliament under the Fourth Republic and other republic has acted. Being it that the executive is too powerful. We have a system of democracy where the executive really makes Parliament look like an appendage of executive, because that is where it picks majority of its ministers. That is where it controls, it controls the budget of Parliament. It controls who gets what in Parliament. So it has made Parliament, in a way, yes, in most parts of the world, parliamentarians are whipped into position, but there are certain ways that we could introduce into our democracy, like secret ballots. We remember recently when there was a secret ballot and the NDC lost what they wanted. So I think some aspects of the way business is conducted should in Parliament be done.
What did NDC want?
No. He's talking about the November 7th. I'm talking about the
November 7th to
date.
November 10th. No, but it was the majority lost.
No, not majority.
Okay.
Well,
okay, the motion was defeated.
No,
the motion was defeated.
Look, can I point
Okay, correct it.
Comrade, please don't.
Okay, fine, but the motion,
Comrade, you are not on the
but the
floor.
majority wanted December, November.
Okay,
fine. Okay,
the point is
I stand corrected.
That,
I stand corrected.
Please carry
what
on.
I'm trying to say is that we would get a lot more proper voting in the House if the way and manner in which some of these things are done. We all know that in this particular matter, where the Ford saga bribery, so to speak, came up, the minority was not going to get its way. And honestly, I thought it was a political football trying to score an own goal or one goal because of the terrain we are in also. Because we are in a political season, the majority was not going to allow the head of their party, which is the president, to be maligned in Parliament in that way. But to me, it goes further. If the president, when he was vice president, had not gone that way, would we be sitting here discussing this?
Gone what way?
Well,
we
know. Please, let me make my case. Look, let me make my case.
Comrade, please.
Comrade,
please.
Honorable,
Mr.
the fact
of
this case is very clear, and everybody, including my grandmother in Puano, and everybody knows the fact. The fact is this:
please.
There was a Ford, which was a gift. Please, there was a Ford, which was a gift. It was given by an individual to a public official. Let me not go. Let's not go there.
Comrade, please allow
the
him.
public official accepted that gift against the code of conduct of a public official, and it's the law.
I can't allow this to go on. The interjections are just too much, please.
That was accepted. The gift was accepted and then given into the protocol pool or whatever pool it was.
But wasn't that what the communications minister said? That was the communications. No, please.
But it is against the code of ethics.
Please,
it is against the code of ethics.
Comrade, please.
No. I wouldn't go there with
please,
you.
I'm not going to encourage this. You cannot be coming in.
We vote for a party. No.
Carry on, please.
My brother, we vote for a party as a Ghanaian. I don't vote for NDC or MPP to come and tell me who did what, who did not do what. That's not why we vote. We voted MDC into power to come and do better than what MPP did. No, but so don't refer to what Kufuor did, please. Don't do that. Kufuor did it, it was wrong. Ghanaians voted you in.
Honestly, if we carry on like this, we may have to take a decision. Honestly, we can't carry on like this.
Why are you, my brother, why are you referring to it? What I'm trying to get across is that it was wrong. Wrong is wrong. I'm sure if we live in a dispensation where the president can apologize and we move on, he should apologize and let's move on. Because he should not accept the gift. The reason, you see, why you are asking what is that? Look, why did we now have the need to go to parliament? Why did parliament feel that they need to look into it? Because a sitting president, be it a vice president at that time, has gone to a position where we think that parliament needs to look into it. That is why we entrust our leaders to be above reproach. Wow. You should be clean. That's why you are a leader. So that the whole things that can, you see, look, I'll give you an example. And you see, it seems like we all keep going to the foreign world. But let's bring in Obama. Obama, when he was trying to be president, the first black person to be president, do you know the investigation and do you know the debt they tried to find on the man? They went as far as going to that. The man went to dinner. There was somebody 3 tables away from Obama. He made a statement. They wanted to pin that statement on Obama because he was in a room where the man was and made that statement. It means that the man was above reproach. They couldn't find anything on Obama. That is why he could stand tall, come to Ghana and lecture us on pillars of institutions of
institutions as against personalities, strong men.
You understand? My point is that, my brother, comrade, we could agree or disagree on the processes that went on in Parliament, whether it was bad or good, or whether the minority could have scored or not. But the point you asked is that is Parliament living up to the institution. There are so many at times that I personally think that they could do better. Many at times I think they could do better, especially with some of the bills that goes to Parliament, with some of the borrowing that goes into Parliament, some of the agreements that go to Parliament, the way and manner in which it's looked at, the way it comes in, emergency certificate, and it is rushed through Parliament. All those things could be curtailed. It is not necessary. My point is that the average Ghanaian looking at this, in a camp parlant, you say that Papa, if the president had not engaged in this act, and you see, I wouldn't call it a bribe because it's difficult to prove that it's a bribe. It's difficult. You cannot. But my point is that the fact of the matter is that the guy was looking for a contract. The guy got a contract. Okay, he's not a Ghanaian national. He's a Burkinabe. He got a contract in Ghana. We all agree that a Ford expedition, from what my brother was saying, a laissez-passer and all those things, that means the Ford came from Burkina into Ghana, into our presidential pool. So a gift was accepted. It shouldn't have. Unfortunate.
Very well, Kojopoku. Let's end it here. You're watching New Day Saturday edition, and the conversations are going on. We're looking at the dismiss motion by the minority in Parliament, which sought to investigate the allegations of some corruption in respect of the Ford Expedition vehicle. Now I'll take some messages and then we'll go to the panelists. This is coming from, it says, Inusa, inside SDA Hospital. It says, hi Abna, anybody who intends to engage in bribery will ensure that there's proper documentation on the item in question, but to the extent that that was carried out, Mr. Mahama could not have engaged in any wrongdoing. Therefore, the description of this issue as cock and bull is coherent. God save us from this corruptible government, and that's Inusa. When he said, somebody, this Nini is saying, when you interject Honorable Mutala, he goes mad, but see how he's been disruptive. I know this is not the message you're expecting, but this message is one of the most important among all the messages you will receive. Please help me preach the message of peace. Oh, indeed, this is a good message, peace. Please, can you help me preach my peace message? Ghana, our motherland, needs peace. Peace is the most expensive commodity of the unseen things ever on this earth. Without peace, there will be no love. Peace is the key of unity, and love opens the way for understanding. It says, let peace unite us as one people with one common destiny. And this is by Innocent. So the other person is saying, isn't it obvious the New Patriotic Party and its surrogates may have thrown in the towel ahead of December 7th after all? Which serious political party, confident of defeating a president in 3 months' time, will be busy organizing demonstrations and devising means of impeaching the very president they believe the electorates have had enough of? They better get serious and stop employing ridiculous strategies to win election. This is Kofi Kekeli in Hacho. This says, I don't understand why we are always being partisan with our discussions. Is this country only for NDC and the NPP? They should give us a break. This is the main reason why we need PPP or the CPP to steer our affairs. This is from Usman in Cape Coast. Oliver John in Pokwasi says, Abna, I'm so disappointed in the Honorable Mutala when he said that Manasseh and Joy FM in their bid to make Nana Addo the president, Ghanaians want to know whether the Ford expedition was a gift or was meant to induce the president to offer more contracts to the Burkinabe contractor. On the issue of the minority sitting down when the leader was leaving the house, that is parliamentary. Honorable Mutala should not create the impression as if it's wrong. Next message says, Abna, please tell Honorable Atachian that we are disappointed by him and his minority colleagues in Parliament. We were all in this country when PC Apia Ofori stated categorically that the then majority took 5,000 cedis bribe before approving the sale of Ghana Telecom. At that time, Honorable Atachian colleagues didn't know of the Constitution, and bipartisan committee should look into it. And Silas also says from Kumasi again, and I know the show is going on, but unfortunately for me, Doomso found me. I stood in the bus from Obuasi to Kumasi this morning knowing I'm in a hurry to catch the show, but Mr. Doomso forbid me to watch it. Too bad. I hope you make it next time. Abna, good morning. The minority knew very well that their case will not hold, but since they need money to campaign, they decided to recall and take our taxpayers' money to... This is Basil from La Paz. Yes, let's take one more and then we go on. Aziz Donlan, UDS says, the minority has indeed shown the level of unpatriotism towards Ghana because initially they knew their motion wouldn't hold, yet they wasted taxpayers' money. Elections are not won by deceptions and phantom of promises. Good morning to Comrade Mutala. And this is coming from, he says, and SK Backbin. I'm sure he's sending his greetings to the Honorable Backbin. Anyways, we are on TV3 live. We're also live on 3FM 92.7, also live on Connect 97.1 in Takoradi in the Western region, and we're streaming live on the internet at 3news.com. The conversations continue. Honorable Atachian, you had wanted to make reference to something about the impeachment. Yes.
You see, if you wanted to impeach the president, we didn't have to do what we did. If you read Article 69 well, it's clear that all you need to do is to get your numbers. After I've gotten your numbers, you do a petition. You do a petition to the CJ via the Speaker. The Speaker has no alternative than to just relay the petition to the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice will then empanel 4 more senior judges, and together with herself, they commence the impeachment proceedings. And then, if it is so found that a prima facie case has been made against the president, the matter will be referred to Parliament for debate. So nobody should get it wrong that we wanted to impeach him. We are not that daft that we don't know the difference between impeachment and invoking.
So what was the objective?
The objective is to give the president the opportunity to clarify this issue. All that he was saying, and that it was above board and all. If it is that above board, don't you have a golden opportunity on the stage of Parliament, the people's representatives come and clear your name? What is it that you are hiding? Why should an investigation be blocked? You are asking so many questions. Why can't the questions be answered openly?
Okay.
Or perhaps, why is it that still with the Traj process,
that's why I said point of order.
The minority sought to start something similar in Parliament, so then to create a parallel system?
Sometimes I'm embarrassed when people want to talk about the fact that Traj could tie us down. And that is not the decision of Kuchata Blackwell case. Let's get it clear. So if you want to press this absurdity very far, anytime anybody feels that Parliament is about to investigate a matter, that the person will rush to charge, and then we are affected. Is that the kind of arguments you want to?
It has to do with a public officer, and that's why
Listen,
I read
my
the
good lady,
287
let me tell you.
contravention of chapter 24.
I've told you, and I want to state it very clear here. It is not only that. It said whether or not the Ford expedition donated the president infringes on his own code of conduct, his own code of conduct. And then we went on to say, any other matter relevant to the above subject matter. My good lady, are we interested in the tax laws of Ghana? Whether or not the Ford expedition received by the president infringes any law of Ghana?
What document is that?
No,
That's the motion.
The motion.
Yes.
So the motion has a lot of dimensions which will not prevent us from interrogating the matter. Let me ask you something which is very important. When we're talking about taxes, I can assure you the policeman of the tax regime is Parliament. They approve of taxes and to ensure that taxes are duly received and applied, those matters. So therefore, is there a short change in terms of revenue in the false representation, in quotes, that the Ford expedition was a second-hand one? And you know the difference between paying duty on a brand new vehicle and a second-hand one. How can anybody in his right mind say that Parliament should not go into that and say that, oh, our hands are tied and it's right that can do it? You know the army of accountants who are in Parliament who can go into these matters? And why should we subordinate our power to charge? You see, let's not press these kind of absurdity. And what is sad, what kind of clairvoyance did the Speaker have to know all the ramifications of the case when it's not heard the proponent of the motion?
May I make a point?
Yes.
Briefly, and then
Do you know that it is absolutely challenging for Parliament to feel that Shraj's mandate is neither here nor there where they are concerned? Because really, what you should have done as Parliament, you should have actually called Shraj and sat with them and got their side of it before he even came in.
Shraj
But
has no
Shraj is
side.
already-
What do you mean?
Shraj has no side.
What do you mean they have no side?
Mr.
What side are they in this matter?
Are they not investigating?
Are they at the center of the
Are
investigation?
they no?
This
Are they
right?
not investigating?
What are they investigating?
They're
Do
investigating
you know what
whether.
we want to investigate? And would they give us a hearing for you to have the full
Why?
ramifications?
Why would they
but
give you a
let me
hearing?
ask. Let me
Why
ask
would
a
they give
question.
you a
No,
hearing?
Mr.
They don't
Tantua,
stop it.
You haven't probably
Honorable,
tried.
I'll come back to
please.
you. Honorable Atacha, to make your continue point. But with the intervention Mr. Jantua made, what would Shraj come to do in Parliament exactly? Because it's currently now looking into the issue.
What did?
So if
Speaker
Shraj
say?
is summoned,
What did the Speaker say? One of the points why the Speaker threw this out was because it was the Shraj. So obviously, Shraj has a certain position.
He got it
to-
wrong.
Well, whatever the
Shraj
case,
is-
whatever
Shraj is
the case
investigating
well,
it.
He's investigating it, and the Speaker, who is the boss of the House, has referred to what Shraj is doing. Don't you think anybody in Parliament who is under the Speaker should first of all go to Shraj?
For what?
What do you mean for what?
anyway,
It is the
Honorable,
basis.
carry on
Let me
with your
tell you-
carry on with your
Let me
point.
tell you
Yes.
something. Let me tell you something. One of the things you should never do is to think for us. It's wrong. At the end of the day, if Shraj even found out that, oh,
Are you an island upon
no,
yourself?
let me tell you. No, you
Mr.
are you
Tantua,
are giving us. No, you are giving us.
Allow him.
You didn't understand
No,
what
Mr.
I'm saying.
An
Tantua.
island upon yourself.
No, Mr. Tantua, please allow Mr.
Now, why are you
Honorable.
urging your position as if that is the only option?
Not urging the position.
What is the
You
meaning of this?
have been brought into Parliament by the people. You are
Please.
responsible to
Will you
us.
listen
Yes,
to me?
Mr. Tantua, you made your point.
Let me
You made your
ask
point.
you, let me
Yes,
ask you,
Honorable.
You see, one of the things that we shouldn't do is to decide how we think. That is your point of
How
view.
Parliament thinks.
No,
or
we
the minority.
who brought the motion. Let me show you somehow that it might not even be necessary to go the route of Shraj. At the end of the day, if there are serious matters of criminality after the work of Shraj, recommendations are made to the Attorney General, who is the appointer of the Attorney General, the very president. So why do you people want to decide for us? We are cleverer than that.
So you are thinking
We
that
are
the
cleverer
Shraj
than that.
process will not necessarily result in anything.
Whatever
That
it
would change
resolves,
anything.
whatever it resolves by operation of law, we are thinking that it could be redundant.
So why did you
Because
go to court? Why did you go to court?
Let me
No,
tell
no,
you.
please,
Let me tell
wait,
you. We
yes.
wanted the facts.
You wouldn't have gotten the facts if you gone to
The
court.
facts would have come out of Parliament clearly, and then Any sensible person with the facts in Parliament would decide that, oh, this is a very good case, having regard to the findings, to go to court. When we went to court with kind of hollow evidence, the man saying X and the Awunis, Azuri saying Y.
But Honorable,
Do you know
let
all
me
the full
come in
facts
here.
of the case? What's the purpose of an investigation? So that the facts will come out.
Honorable, let
And
me
you
come
thought
in
it
here.
would
No,
have
Mr.
come out in
Joshua.
Parliament.
Mr. Joshua, just a minute.
You'll be subpoenaed.
But Honorable
Under
Atacha,
oath,
Honorable
you
Atacha,
doubt the powers of Parliament.
are you
That we
saying
can't-
that?
I don't doubt. Don't
No,
don't-
Mr.
don't
Joshua,
put
please.
words in my mouth.
No.
I don't
Please,
doubt
Mr.
the powers of
Joshua,
Parliament.
let me carry on with this. Mr. Honorable, are you saying that the outcome of that process you started,
Yeah.
assuming it had gone the full haul, you could have taken the outcome, be it a report or whatever,
Yes.
and taken it to court, and the court would not on its own go into it per its own processes?
The raw material for the court, you see, that when you want to go to court and you're a lawyer who is properly instructed, you need raw material, facts.
Yes.
Now the facts, listen to me carefully. The facts at the moment, you can't put your finger on it until an investigation.
Just a minute. Let him finish.
Yeah. You see, the full facts of this case, if you care to know, is to find out whether there's been infringement of the law and the rest of them. I am of the view that if we went to court in a vacuum, it will be absurd.
That is your view.
Okay, that's
Yes,
fine.
that's my view.
That's
Yes,
your
I'm
view.
telling you.
But not the
Can I ask my
whole.
question?
I'm telling you.
Not
Wait,
the whole
yes.
MPP's
Mr.
view.
Joshua, allow Mr.
Of the minority.
Can I ask my question?
But you said it's your
My
view.
question I want to ask is that when you say we, are you saying we as in Parliament
The
would have gone to
minority.
court, or the minority would have gone
Is
to
that
court?
why wouldn't you want to go to court? That was
No,
the question.
you said that
Yes.
you said that for us to get the full fact of the case,
Yeah.
Parliament wanted to look into it
Yes.
and get the full facts.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is that the we get
Not
to the
Parliament, the
Parliament,
minority.
No, I'm saying
The Parliament, the investigation is on to the
By
minority.
Parliament.
But the
But the
Parliament,
minority will run
then
it.
if the
Oh.
Parliament does
Not the
By
whole,
the
not the
investigation
whole
on to the
Parliament.
minority.
It's the
Mr. Joshua,
minority who
Can
brought
I-
it.
can I-
Yes,
oh,
Kojo
please,
Poku,
please.
please land,
If
yes.
the Parliament does this investigation and comes to a conclusion, are you saying that minority will now take that conclusion to court?
If at the end of the day the facts are adverse to the president,
Yes.
we could do it. It's an option. It's not.
But then
Why
Parliament
not?
has, by
Why
Parliament
not?
has its rules. But why doesn't
Listen,
minority MPP
listen.
do their own investigation?
Parliament-
You can do that.
Exactly.
Why would Parliament
And
start?
we should do it.
Yes.
A
you
self-serving
can-
Please allow Mr.
Yes,
Please allow
for us to
Honorable
be
to answer the
maligned.
question.
That, do you understand what
Yes,
is
I'll
going
come to you.
Right.
No, but
You
there was
understand
not. But you were not going to get the
Surprisingly.
bipartisan. They were not going to. They were not
Mr.
gonna-
Kojo
do you
Poku,
know?
allow
How
Mr.
do you know?
Honorable to answer.
Clearly, have they ever in this Fourth Republic?
Let
Has
it
there
come
ever
out.
been? Has there? But
Let
you
the
know you're not
apostles
gonna
of
get it.
probity and accountability say we will investigate
my
the
brother,
man.
you know you're
Let
not
them
gonna
say
get-
so.
you know you're not gonna get
How
it.
do we know?
You but clearly
How
that,
do we know?
clearly
We are
that's why you
progressing. We
saying
are
that
talking
it's
about
political.
institutions. You see, we are talking about the past being that people are very aligned this way. Are we not trying to test the system that for once are we going to get people converging on corruption?
So why
and the
don't
rest
you
of them-
use trash to test the system?
It's
Why
some-
don't you? Isn't it an
Let me
institution?
let me tell you something which is very important for your own appreciation of the issue. Let me tell you why this option.
I don't appreciate.
No, Mr.
appreciate
Joshua,
it.
no, Mr.
Go
Joshua,
ahead.
please, let him, let
Go ahead.
Honorable.
I'm listening.
Mr. Joshua, please.
Please be
Honorable,
careful.
carry on.
I hold you in respect. Don't
Please
don't
let
do
him,
what you are
yes.
doing. Don't do
Honorable,
that.
please.
You see, when you say a bipartisan committee in Parliament should do so, nobody is inventing a wheel. Let me show you why. It's here. The House may, that I'm reading.
The standing orders.
The standing orders. 191. The House may at any time by motion appoint a special or ad hoc committee to investigate any matter of public importance, to consider any bill that does not come under the jurisdiction of any of the standing order or select committee. So why is it that a window of opportunity is afforded by law and you are telling that we shouldn't
That's
use
an
it?
option available to
But
them,
why
and
is
they
it
could,
not-
and they
Yes,
did.
but-
Yes, no,
Abna,
wait,
Abna,
Mr.
just a
Joshua,
minute.
yes.
You indicated, you said a word there, a bill.
It's not only a bill.
No, but that is what it says
There's
there.
more. There's
what,
more.
What does it say?
Oh.
So read it
To
and let us
investigate-
appreciate it.
No.
Consider.
Listen. Let me. I'll
Yes.
listen carefully. You
Honorable.
want to hear it again?
Yes, I do.
The court may, at any time, by motion, appoint a special or ad hoc committee to investigate any matter of public importance.
Yes.
Semicolon.
Yes.
That means addition.
Yes.
To consider any bill that does not come under the jurisdiction of any of the standing or select committees.
Yes, so it's
It's
not
all
just
clear.
a bill.
So
It's all clear.
But the point I
So
want to-
that
the
was an
point- the
option
point I want to
available, and
find-
you did. So
Yes.
there's nothing.
Which
yes.
we don't have a problem with.
Exactly,
my
but to
point- the
insist
point-
that
yes,
they should have gone to court
but my
is
point
another
is that,
thing.
look,
Yeah.
what he is saying is that we all want to know what
Yeah.
was the end game of what Parliament was trying to do. They are saying it wasn't to impeach, just to
Because that wasn't the
it was a
impeachment
fact
process.
finding. It was a fact finding process. And Mr. Janto asked that if you now get your facts, what would you do with it? You now say we can go to court with the facts.
Of course.
But my point is that why would you, the minority, if it's the court you want to go, do your own independent investigation?
But
you have your
But
resources.
Honorable,
You have your resources.
you could have gone to court nonetheless to,
Yes.
I mean, make a case.
Let me
But
tell
this
you,
is
but
also
what are we
another
going to go to
option
court?
that.
What are we going to court?
But you can
let
make
me
your own
tell you,
investigation.
please, let me get you. Let me
Mr.
tell you.
Kojopo,
You
allow
see,
him.
if you want to make a very sensible case to court, you see, what you do is you have strong facts. So what we are attempting to do is to get the facts clear. So we advise us that we needn't go to court.
So in other words, you think if you had started a court process, you didn't think you had the requisite facts
And that would
available
have
to
even
go
there would be
support
time
your
with
case.
propaganda. That why are you using that which is not certified or found out to be the right thing as a basis of going to court? And why will anybody who says it's innocent run away from an investigation? It is cheap.
Very well. Comrade.
It's amazing, and I am so shocked that a lawyer of his standing would mix up things this way. In one breath, he claims that even if Shraj does the investigation and finds maybe conduct of mispropriety or of the president, and that it should be referred to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, and in his claim, the Minister of Justice and Attorney General is appointed by the very president, and therefore they may not see the conclusion.
But which is an issue?
Can I please?
Yes,
I
comrade.
was watching you when you were speaking.
But
so
everybody had a piece
please,
of
please,
the cake.
allow me, please. Now this same person tells us that no, Parliament will do a good job, even though he's aware the majority in Parliament are members of the very government, the very party. That one will do an independent work. But Shraj, which is supposed to even be more independent in terms of taking such decisions than the position of majority and minority, that one they know. Once they do and send it to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, we don't think that there will be. This is their logic. Two, the purpose for all this, that's why I describe it as absolutely silly. And by the way, the person who sent the text, that it is part of the standing orders that members of Parliament can sit when the speaker is coming out or going out. That is absolutely not.
Didn't it's part of the standing orders? That is
he
parliamentary
said,
practice.
No, it's not. It's not.
It is.
Please.
We can do what
Very well, we would-
to you.
We can do what
You
else?
please.
It's a form of
Comrade,
protest.
carry on.
Why? You think we are zombies?
I
Honourable,
thought
please,
you
comrade.
I thought you would
Absolute-
use the same
comrade,
words
carry on.
to him. I am saying that you can do walkout, you can do everything.
Of course.
The respect
Honourable, please.
to the speaker is not the speaker, but what is standing in front of the speaker. That is what you are respecting. So don't give me this story.
Go and kneel down before the speaker.
Oh, please.
Even if this one outrageous.
Well,
Comrade, carry on, please. Let's not lose track. Let's carry on with the point.
But you know
Please.
that it's a right.
Please.
But you know,
Comrade,
the right
please
to
go on.
It's a right.
Oh, now I have
No,
three
no,
people
no. Comrade is
interjecting.
on the floor.
I am saying that
Comrade
I am
is on the
saying
floor.
that
You
it
have
is
1 minute
not.
for us to.
1 minute.
No, I mean, we need
Oh,
to
then
go
I
for
don't
a
need to
break.
discuss
We need
it.
to go for a break. So
Then I would like you to go for a break because you gave him more than 10 minutes. That's
let
not
me
fair.
take some messages then.
What are you talking about? No, but
I have a message. It says,
shocked
"Good
that you tell me
morning."
I have 1 minute.
Honourable,
to go
please
on
allow
break.
me to
And then
read
when
my
we come
messages.
back,
Good
we
morning.
can continue.
I think it should have been a good opportunity for the president to clear himself from that bribery allegation, but I know he won't. As Professor Tapp Mills Committee, no, this I can't make head or tail of this. Good morning, Abna. Nanado's health is a propaganda by the NDC. Okay, this is preempting our discussion of the Africa Watch. We will look at that. People condemning NPP parliamentarians do not understand what they are saying. The gift is a disgrace to the nation, and this is coming from Boat in Accra. Somebody says, Google bribe taken in all, and all you see is pictures and stories about President Mahama. This is too bad an image for Ghana. It says, remind Honorable Mutala that Nado is not the only one in opposition, as he thinks exposing the president amounts to making Nanado president. If Manasseh had not done this, we would have known we wouldn't have known there is such a vehicle in the pool. This is Ernest from Boko. This says, good morning, Abna and your panelists. Please tell the NPP and their representative that we all saw what happened to the Right Honorable Peter Lajete in 2005. I don't know exactly what that is referring to. Let's take another message, which is saying, Abna, good morning to you and your honorable panelists. With the greatest of respect, I think the Speaker called the House just to ridicule them? Is he trying to say that when a magistrate court is looking into an issue, the Supreme Court has no rights looking into the same matter? How can the Speaker be a referee and a player at the same time? I'm sorry, but he did the job of the majority leader. Where was the principle of natural justice? This is Akosomo Kukrantumi. And we'll be moving on. Today, Saturday edition. We are on TV3. We are on 3FM 92.7 and Connect FM 97.1 in Takrade. We are also connecting live with our global audience on 3news.com. We'll be wrapping up on the conversation about the dismissed motion by the Speaker on Thursday, September 1st. And in wrapping up, we'll have the Honorable Motela give us his comments. Comrade.
Well, I said that he has indicated that they went to Parliament. One, there were two reasons. If the Speaker, who indeed had a responsibility to respect the standing orders of Parliament, which is palpable, that when you have 15 or more members signing to a motion, and you have to summon. So what the Speaker did was, 15%. Please, yes, I'm saying 15 members, yes, 15, and you had over 100.
15%.
I say 15%, you had over almost 100 people.
So you get the
sign.
15%
So the Speaker had no reason than to do what? To summon Parliament. That is one. If the Speaker never did that, we know them. They would have said the Speaker is preventing them from investigating the so-called corruption and whatever. They would have said that.
And that would have been a breach of your own standing orders, wouldn't it?
Yes, the Speaker would have been breaching the standing orders of... Oh, no, please.
No.
Why?
Okay, I'll respond.
Why? The Speaker has a responsibility to do what you guys have legitimately and legally asked him to do. Now, but he also needed to call you and expose the silliness in the motion that you people brought. It didn't have any basis. And I am scandalized that he sits here today and he tells us that there is a Supreme Court ruling on a matter that is less than 10 years by Justice Broby. And the ruling was that Shiraj has exclusive jurisdiction on issues involving the investigation of a public officer. Maybe probably it didn't occur to them that the president is a public officer. Because if it did, he would have known. He himself has also admitted on this program that yes, it has to do, the Supreme Court ruling on Okujeto and late Jake's issue was about the ethics and the conduct of a public officer. Why? The motion you guys have, which he read here, you indicated part of your reason was the conduct of the president, a code of conduct of the president.
It's not all.
Please, it doesn't matter whether it's all or it's not all. And I'm happy that you're admitting that yes, this was what you said on this same program, that the ruling about on the issue of Okujeto and Jake and Co was about the conduct of a public officer. Now you are admitting that in your motion, it also includes the conduct of a public officer. And by the way, if you are telling me that you don't have the information, the Ministry of Communication issued a statement on the position of government when Joy FM and Manasseh Azuri came out with those falsehoods. A statement was issued on behalf of the president.
And we should take it.
Please.
And
Oh, please. Oh, please.
Allow
Oh,
him
please.
to-
Manasseh Azuri and Joy FM, they came out with their lies. And that is their side of the story. Government also came out with its response. It's enough for you to go to court. Wow. It's enough. Now, if you sit here and then you tell me that the court cannot give us the full facts, it's only Parliament that can give us the facts, then God save us.
No. For the court will not give the facts. You would have to send the facts.
I am saying that yes, I'm saying this evidence, the position of government is very clear on a statement issued. The position of that story that was cooked by Manasseh and Joy FM is also very clear. Now, you have enough evidence now if you want to do thorough investigation to go to court. Now, you sit here and then you tell us, no, court will not be able to get the real facts. We need to go to Shiraj. The purpose for this whole waste of time was that their campaign is not working, is that they know President Mahama would win the elections with a wide margin. And when they started going around, and that is why they come out with outrageous policies. Even yesterday, there was another promise that was made. But it is also important for us to respect institutions of the state. Now, the Speaker never said, I am denying Parliament the responsibility of doing what they ought to do. But as part of the respect and regard I have for good governance, there is another state institution that is investigating it. So it wouldn't make sense that I say because Parliament has the authority also to go ahead with that, I should do that. That is absolute duplication and that is unnecessary. The Speaker did not only refer to the constitutional provisions The Speaker also referred to a position taken by the Supreme Court on please.
Very well.
Please. And again, you didn't even need anybody to ask. Richard Anani, Honorable Richard Anani's case was enough a reference point. And there are litany of cases where decisions have been taken by the Supreme Court on matters like this. So you see, the purpose for the entire exercise was not to investigate anything. Nothing new is going to come out. The position of government is very clear on this whole issue. But you see, they have been struggling to tag President Mahama as a corrupt person because that is the cardinal principle of their campaign. This is a person who has been a member of parliament for 3 terms, and then a deputy minister and a minister of state. When you guys won elections in 2000, you boasted that by the time you finish prosecuting every single member of NDC will be dead. Not a single allegation was made against President Mahama, not a single. If there is anybody who is incorruptible, and in fact, the opportunity President Mahama has as a president and vice president, and is not corrupt, if you have 0.0001% of it, Ghana will be sold.
Very well, thank you. We'll take your final thoughts on this and we'll move on. So, yes, Honorable.
Madam, I am scandalized that anybody...
Please,
you see,
so this option is the option of the
listen, it's there. If you want me to quote, I'll quote it.
No, it's not about quoting.
Yes.
The Speaker could have done what he wanted. The Speaker could have also done what he did.
So who has lost
you're done.
You people.
No, comrade, you're done. Yes, Honorable Natasha, please wrap
and I want to stress that if the Speaker had in mind that is a useless piece of motion, or that is that I've returned it's not admissible. But for the Speaker to bring us in and come out with a prepared judgment without giving us the opportunity to be heard, the whole thing was stage managed, and it's a huge embarrassment to Parliament. Why would you want to hear the other side? What is your problem? And if you look at all that has gone on before in the Hansard, before they made the rulings that the motion is inadmissible, they gave them opportunity to be heard. Read the Hansard, affect the Hansards. You didn't hear a man and you judged him.
Comment, please.
Oh no, that's a blot. That's a blot on our democracy. That is a way of saying that insofar as the Speaker is concerned, the chamber of debate is useless. We shouldn't be heard on any matter. If you went to court and you said, a judge said, Mr. Tachinya, your whole motion is defective, he will ask you, give me reasons why I should not dismiss it.
I think, thank you. Mr. Jantua, your final thoughts, and then we move on. Final thoughts, we move on to religion and politics.
I believe that the minority, and all the discussions and who had that went on in the media, and the media referring it to as impeachment, should have stopped it. I didn't hear any of the minority tell the media this is not an impeachment process. That is number one.
But clearly it's not an impeachment process.
No, but it gave that impression. It gave that impression. Are you telling me that Ghanaians didn't think that this whole thing was towards an impeachment? Yeah. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Because that is. I mean, I've been on several radio stations and TV stations with this thing. And what people were saying that impeachment against Mahama, impeachment against Mahama. And it was up to the minority to stop
correct that impression.
Yes, to correct that impression. Because that was not their objective of going to Parliament. Now, I would have thought, for nothing at all, if the Speaker knew that he was going to do what he did, he should have listened to what they had to say. Because, listen, there are two things.
Once he summoned them to Parliament.
Please.
Please.
There are two things. The first thing is that the majority have the numbers. And number two, his final comment would have been what he read to us. There was no way the minority would have won. Now, I'll end by saying that the basis of all this, the finger should be pointed to the ambassador in Burkina Faso. Why do I say that? The Constitution, and I'll quote, 284, conflict of interest. A public officer shall not put himself in a position where his personal interest conflicts or is likely to conflict with the performance of the functions of his office. The moment the gentleman decided that I want to give to the president, you should have quoted him this. You should have stopped him. Look, listen, if this were any other country that we know, they will stop it before it even got to the president or prime minister.
Right. So you're raising the issue about the perception, and yes, lastly, and then we move on.
Continue from what my brother Mr. John Twa just said, it's perfect. If the gift was rejected. It was the advance when it went to the Togo embassy, Burkina embassy was stopped. All this would not have happened. It was not necessary. I just think that our head of state, our leader, our president should be beyond reproach. We shouldn't be able to taint him with anything. All this has gone to taint him because, like the text person said, when you go online and you Google corruption, the president of our nation, pictures comes up. My brother, I'm not saying it's right.
We're wrapping up on this.
Some of these things, when we say it, we don't say it's right, but we are saying that it's unfortunate it has happened.
I'm just saying
Well, that's fine.
Comrade,
Right,
Comrade,
that's fine.
please.
But the point is that
You've had your turn.
no matter what the MPP has done, CPP has done, now when you go on social media and Google corruption, the picture of the president comes up, and it's shameful for a country like Ghana.
Very well.
No, that's not what we want to Google, my brother. What I'm saying is that it's unfortunate that happened. It shouldn't have been taken. And you know, this thing about this person did this, so this person will do this, will not help with our dispensation. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. We'll be moving on to the Professor Mate issue, his press conference and all of that. We'll be looking at religion and politics. Now, let me take some messages quickly and then we'll move on. It says government itself has admitted that the said vehicle was indeed given to Mr. John Mahama. The president chose to describe it as a gift without shame. Mr. Kanazoy says the president personally called to thank him after receiving the car. Government's defense was that the vehicle was added to the official pool of vehicles at the presidency to be used by the state in accordance with a certain established convention which they refused to tell us. Son is saying, please ask Mr. Jantua, he's a lawyer, and if the president is to be impeached, which article of the Constitution should be applied? Well, we all know that that is Article 69. Yes, so now we're moving on to religion and politics.
I thought you would have given me the last bite because you gave him.
Really? No. Okay. So it's exactly. It's not a banter between that. There are other people around the table. Moving on to now, Professor Emmanuel Mate, the immediate past moderator of the Presbyterian Church, in a press conference to this week, made some allegations that some politicians had actually made overtures at him, trying to silence him with some gifts. We'll be taking a listen to him and then we'll come back to the studios to have my panelists weigh in on this matter. Let's take a listen.
That envelope, $100,000, and also with the promises that, if you keep quiet, we will give you a house at Transaco with swimming pool. We will give you 4-wheel drive. They have tried all means to muzzle me. They couldn't, and I tell you they can't. Where my task goes, you babies with sharp teeth, you are stealing the money and you don't want us to talk. We will talk today, we will talk tomorrow.
He said.
Great, welcome back. That is a playback of Professor Emmanuel Mate, the outgoing moderator of the Presby Church in Ghana. Now, quickly, Mr. Jantua, your take on this issue. I want to start with you.
There's no MPP.
Professor Mate's allegations and all.
It's a shame for me that a man of such high repute in the Christian fraternity would take such a situation and say it this way. He has the ears of a lot of people. And for me, if he stood in the pulpit and said it in a way where it applied Christian principles to it, that would have been better for me. Now, we've had somebody else come up to say otherwise than what he is saying. Who is speaking the truth? And let's face it. What does material things do to anybody? House in Transaco, swimming pool, car, and so what? What does it do to anybody? A man of that repute, should such things influence him? And if he really knew that he did take it, as by what this other gentleman is saying, who is he deceiving?
Subsequently the church has issued a statement trying to set the record straight and talking about all of that. So,
well, Who was there when the money was being offered? Who was there? Was the church there? Did he call his church elders around the table to say, this is what has come up, what should we do? If he did all that,
well, what it seeks to say is, I'm trying to pull it up, what it seeks to say is that the PRO, the former PRO, was dismissed before the date that he alleges that the moderator went to a meeting with him. So the church itself is questioning that if indeed he was dismissed on grounds of fraud and all of that, why would he be present at? I mean, these are the things the church is putting out there.
You see, Abner,
so to give a bigger context to the discussion.
To be a head of a Christian fraternity, you work as a team with all the people who work under you. And you are the one, when something does happen like this, you call your members, you call your executive and say, look, this is what a political party is saying to me. Let's handle it and let's find a better way to, because the Christian fraternity, the Muslim fraternity is supposed to bring people together. That is their main objective. They are supposed to advise. If you are following Jesus Christ, yes, there are certain things Jesus did that he didn't like. He went to the temple and they were doing things there. He got furious and he actually dealt with them. But if you listen to the teachings of Jesus, he would always make sure that he takes a certain situation and he applies biblical intelligence to it. Now, what's his name? Professor Mate. Is he an ordinary man? Would we class him as an ordinary man? We put all our clergy in a certain higher position for them to be able to advise. So, did he tell us what he told the so-called political party when they came to offer? Did he say to them, look, this is such a thing that I cannot do. Please, I'm advising you as a Christian father to do the right thing. Did he say that? I mean, if he came and he did...
He said he wishes he had a bunch of big dogs, he would have unleashed them on...
Is that the way? Is that the way? Because all this gives me question marks. You are a priest. Yours is to bring people together. Somebody has come and has enticed you. You unleash your dogs on them. You rather have to sit them down and quote them what the Bible says. The way you should conduct yourself in what you call it, in power. And then use it as a teaching for your congregation who come to the church. So, what did he try to achieve by having this press conference? What did he try to achieve? And if so, you see, and this is the other bit, what was he scared of? Why didn't he mention which political party it was? You are a priest. You're supposed to show that you have the right to expose anyone. You should have said, it's the CPP who came to give us XYZ. And this is how they came. So people, watch them. If they come into power, they have no good agenda for you. Yes, that I would accept. Was he able to do it? Was he able to say who it was? Why? In his position. Who would fault him? And that gives me question marks as to whether he took it or he didn't take it. As to whether it was 100,000 in the envelope, as to whether it was 50,000 in the envelope, for me it's neither here nor there. So far as it could have been papers in the envelope, nobody knows. But he should have been more open with what he says happened. He should have told the people, because people expect it. In this country, religion is like...
It's big.
It's big. People go to church to get wisdom. And I would have thought that he would show some wisdom in the way he presented this situation.
You're very well, Comrade. Let me come to you. Why would he make such statements the way he did without substantiating them? And
well, for a moment, I was tempted to agree with Karl Marx when he said religion is the opium of the masses. In the first place, he claimed that an envelope was given to him, brown envelope, and he knew how much was contained in that brown envelope if he didn't count the money. I mean, it's shocking. And frankly speaking, like my brother said, I'm a Muslim. I am a beneficiary of mission schools. And I have said it. I attended all my education Methodists. And the last time I checked, that sometimes the conduct and the statements you make as a religious leader, whether a Muslim or a Christian or a Buddhist, you need to be mindful of the feelings of your people. You have a very huge church. In fact, the Presbyterian Church is one of the biggest churches.
And
you
the
have a
oldest
congregation, the oldest. You have the congregation that is apolitical. I say all apolitical because you have all political parties in it. Now, when you make a statement that discredit the office you hold, even though he's outgoing, it makes people become a bit skeptical. Now, what you needed to do, one, was to tell us that this political party came and gave me this. Now, you have a case where another person comes out and says, and call you a liar, and say, look, you took the money. Now, the church has also come out with a statement. It makes the case even worse.
Yeah.
You know, we could have avoided that. Now, and you remember, with his last statement, he said, oh, when babies with sharp teeth, and you know when you talk of babies with sharp teeth, everybody knows that you are referring to a particular political party because you have someone who indeed accused people and mentioned names as babies with sharp teeth. Are you then telling us that it was that political party that gave you the money? I think the way you also demonstrated was absolute cowardice, because clearly, if I'm a religious leader of that stature, why should I fear? If I fear God, I shouldn't fear anybody. And the extent to which I can be public on how someone was trying to shut me up. Shut you up for what? Are you in the business of politics? Now, if someone is trying to shut you up, what more or less bribe you that they gave him a house, offered him a house with swimming pool. Did he go to see that house?
Well, maybe they told him that.
Like, seriously?
Imagine it.
Oh, I see. I see. Now, for you to even, and I think that the question we should be asking is a brown envelope. $100,000. It means that he took the brown envelope, counted the money. Maybe he wasn't satisfied with $100,000. He wanted $500,000 and $100,000. So I don't need to take it. And one point my brother made, and for me that is instructive. That assuming without admitting that that thing was even true, a leader, a man of God, that people have come to you to commit sin, and you say I would have unleashed dogs at them. Jesus didn't unleash dogs at people who committed sins. He accommodated them, he received them, and he tried to change them.
Yeah, those who would also say that Jesus went into the church and
yes,
he did,
but someone used that and whip people in
So
church and as a justification. I'm saying that those things happen to serve an example. The life of Jesus Christ was an example to serve as a guide to all of us. And it was an example to serve as a guide so that you know that even under some circumstances, Jesus Christ did this. It doesn't mean that anybody who misconducts himself, you should line up those people in church and start whipping them. So I'm saying that for him to make that statement, why that even press conference? He could have even said same on the pulpit. And I thought the least he could do, and he has done great disservice to himself and to the people of this country. The very day that thing happened, my understanding of the sermon is that you talk about issues that are happening so that society can change. So when that thing he claimed happened, my expectation was that the very Sunday that he mounted the pulpit, he would have talked about it and said, look, people called me, people came to bribe me, and I tell you to say, he never did that. I think that once you begin to take away the gun of man of God and wear political lenses and the political gun, then you would not be insulated from people going at you. And sometimes it saddens me that if you listen to the kind of commentary that people are making, radio stations attacks, and he brought it, I think it is about time religious leaders understand that yes, we all have parties that we like. You may like NDC or MPP or CPP, but when it comes to preaching the message, you need to do as much as possible to avoid politics. And that was precisely what
Thank you, comrade. I will move to Honorable Atacha on this position. Did he go too far?
Well, I don't know whether the NDC will be comfortable with a bipartisan committee of parliament investigating this matter. It doesn't concern them.
Send a motion.
If it is not a priest, if it's a priest, it will be comfortable.
No, if it is not
okay, fine. Yes, I am of the humble view that the priest has a lot of facts. That's my view. But he was very economical with the way he was dishing out the facts. So I've said somewhere that there's a necessity for further and better particulars for him to tell us who did what and all that. So that people are trying to say that he needs the courage of his conviction to come full circle.
But my worry is, why would you actually organize a press conference with the intention of putting this out and yet not back it up with?
Well,
or it happened on the spur of the moment. He decided to chip it in.
I wouldn't want to. What I've been trying to do all this while is that sometimes people have their own indiscretions and the way they act, you know. And I am very worried about this pattern and he's trying to fit into the pattern. If you care to know, we have a situation in which there are all manner of presidential largesse. They don't hide it. Somebody coming to say that for whatever the political stature of Akua is, she's entitled to this from the president, is entitled to that from the president. Some chief is somewhere, and they believe that the chief should have a 4x4.
Yeah.
So from the president, and the president will not hide it. He will give 4x4 to somebody. We do not know whether it's coming from our meager resources because we are so over borrowed, and therefore I expect the president to be very circumspect in the application of our resources. Giving Kwiadonko a house, now she's somersault and say no, it wasn't the president. All manner of things. So is it also? The priest trying to fit into the pattern of, oh, somebody was trying to give me a 4x4, and there was also a promise that if I should keep quiet, I should have a tricycle with swimming pool and the rest of them. So I wouldn't want to press this issue to the point of saying that, look, let's have a bipartisan investigation. But I say that he owes it to his own integrity to come out with certain facts to help us all understand what is going on. But the way he was going, I would not be surprised at all if somebody was bold enough so that he will keep quiet. They'll present these things because all manner of presentations are going on, and we shouldn't be oblivious of that.
Very well. And what makes it even murky, Kojo here, is the subsequent allegation that also came in to say that, oh, indeed, contrary to what he's saying, he did accept that. I mean, making it out there.
I would want to go up. You see, the man made a statement, and the statement has some substance. Yes, yes. Look, the man is trying to. There was a message. Let's look at the message. He's trying to say that some people, okay, are not tolerant to diverse views. And we live in a country where the youth, and you see, I think the elderly has learned to a standard where they can tolerate certain people, but the youth can't. And when the youth listen to certain people speak, depending on what year they have, be it an MPP year or an NDC year or a CPP year, they have certain level of tolerance to what is being said. Now, for what the man said is that, okay, he's being bribed to keep quiet. Attempted bribery to keep quiet. Me, the message I take from that is tolerance. What level of tolerance do we have for opposed or diverse views? Okay.
What about gagging? Allowing people to speak their mind.
Exactly. So I honestly don't want to go into what he said, what he was being given, the 100,000.
But how can we ignore that?
Because you know why? Some of us sit in certain situations that, be it privately, you might know certain things, but publicly you turn a blind eye and really it's not your business. So I really, like I said, to me, I want to go for the message. What is the message that the man is trying to put out there? No, the message he's trying to put out there is that there is a certain level of intolerance in our system that people are prepared to go to a certain length to make you keep quiet. So that is the message I'm taking up. So if whether it was offered or wasn't offered, I honestly don't know. You and I don't know.
That's why you should expose.
Well, that is fine. That is a different conversation. But my conversation that I want to take from there and for the youth to learn at that, let's have tolerance for diverse views. Don't necessarily want to gag or shut somebody up because the president doesn't agree with you, be it with money or with intimidation. So that is my point of it. Whether he took it, he didn't take it, it was offered. Because the person who is coming out to say that the man did it, there is also a discredit to the man saying that the man has been sacked. So it became a whole different conversation that, oh, he wasn't even there when the thing happened because he had been sacked at that time. Though the man did not give a timeline when this approach was done. So who knew when the guy was sacked or not? You understand? Because from the statement the man made, he didn't give exact date when the approach was made. So who the person coming to say that, oh, but the man was sacked before this thing happened. How do you know the man was sacked before that time? You understand? So to me, it's a murky situation involving church individuals, and I'm a Christian and I don't like to go there. I want to go into the message that came out of that. Let's have tolerance for diverse views, and let's not try to use other influence by money to guide people.
Very well. Let me take some messages and then Comrade, I'll come to you, please. Let me take some messages. This is Aziz Donlan. You says, Honorable Haruna has indeed educated us on the issue of Reverend Professor Mati. He has rather damaged his own reputation with this bribery saga. These are a few questions I have to ask. Who brought the envelope? Who sent the messenger? Who showed the Reverend the apartment with the swimming pool at Trasaco? Can $100,000 be kept in an envelope? Well, you never know what size of envelope he's talking about. We need answers. If not, we will treat this motion as irresponsible and reckless. This is good. Aziz Donla in UDS. Then another one says Professor Mate is acting cowardly and he should have to mention the name of the party. And now the PRO at that time said he took it. God have mercy on your worshippers. So it says, I'm ashamed of that so-called man of God. The fact that politicians find it prudent, even in the slightest sense, that a man of God be bribed to keep him quiet shows how the present clergy has lost its way. This is PK. Another one saying, what worries me is that if he had said, the giver says he should preach for the positive things that are happening, but to say they said openly he should keep quiet, no other bribes will go. I'm not sure what, I'm sorry, I can't continue with that. I'm not getting the sense of it. Abnado is my thought. I believe, no. My issues with men of God who want to talk about nation issues is that they should be consistent and not whenever they wish. We hold them in high esteem, so they should behave as such. This is Aram in Adenta. Another one I was asking, why did Jesus drive out people from the temple with a cane and overturn the tables used for trading? This is Mr. Jantwa, but this Jantwa is with a GY, not a JAN. From Tema. Anyways, good morning. Please ask the NDC why they are running away if they don't have anything to hide. This is from Hamza Mohammed inside Old Fadama. This is New Day Saturday edition, live on TV3, also live on 3FM 92.7, Connect 97.1 FM in Takoradi in the Western region, and also streaming live on the internet at 3news.com. So we'll be moving on to our next topic, which is the magazine Africa Watch, and a publication in there, or an article in there, which is making some allegations about Nanado's health. We'll be looking at that. But we are citing this example because it's come up, but we're going to look at the bigger picture of whether or not it's even necessary to have this kind of disclosures. And as we move into elections, presidential candidates, should they put out their medical status or medical reports and all of that? We know that Dr. Pakwesi Ndum, has done that in the past, but really, was he mandated to do that, and matters associated with that? So we'll be kickstarting the conversation on this. I'll start with you, Mr. Kujupuku. Okay. Your take on this and the general discussion about it.
I think the health of our president or the president-to-be is very important to the nation, because we've all had the unfortunate situation where we've had a certain president passed away, which nobody wants to go through that motion, because everybody remembers where they were when the news of his late Atamils, His Excellency Professor Atamils passed. We don't want that repetition of that. So if there are indications that a running candidate who is representing a political party is unwell or has health issues, and the health issues, you see, I'll go to the example of the Emeritus Benedict XVI, which is the Pope who resigned. When he was given the position, there is nothing that says that a Pope should resign. But when he saw the work and he realized his health vis-a-vis what he has to do, he said, look, let me quietly go and sit somewhere. I can still do my part in this world, but in a more quiet and peaceful manner. So he resigned. He's still alive, and he's looking after himself and doing what he's doing. I think that if you declare to Ghanaians are very prayerful people. Ghanaians are very, the Christianity is deep. Our Muslim brothers will pray for you. If we know you are not well, everybody will pray for you. Though it will be used in politics, but my point is that then the strenuous activities of politics, it's not for you. Okay, because we have 275 constituencies. You have to zigzag the breadth and length of this country, and it will now degrade your health further. So it is a very rigorous activity, and they know that. So if really and truly you are not well, I don't think you need someone to come and tell you that, look, my brother, go in peace and look after yourself. But to what extent, I don't know. Politics is charity work. People would fight tooth and nail to be part of a charity work. Why? I don't know. Though we know
Politics it's charity work.
It's supposed to be charity work. Yes.
Supposed to. I like that. Yeah.
Politics is supposed to be charity work. It's a selfless work to the people to serve. So if the selfless work to serve, your health should be paramount. So if you are not well and you know because the doctors tell you you are not well and you still go against doctors' advice to come and serve, yes, it's good because you believe in Ghana so much that you want to fight with us to the end. But is it really necessary? Your family needs you. So to me, the health of a president should be known because two things happen. When you become a president, we take care of you. And if you have huge medical bills that we are going to incur, we should know that you are not well, and we want to be aware that this is what is ongoing. Be it before or after you become president, I think the president's health should be a matter of public concern and should be in the public domain.
Okay, very well. Honorable Atachian.
Yes.
The laws we have in the Constitution, Article 69(1), I mean, which provides for the impeachment process and all, lays the grounds. One of the grounds for removal as being one of infirmity of body or mind.
Yes.
But we see clearly that there's no such provision for disqualification, if you like, to contesting the office of the presidency.
Yes.
So why should the need to have disclosures about the health of a candidate or a person seeking the high office, why should we even begin to have such conversations about it? Wouldn't it be discriminatory then if we are saying, okay, so you're sick, you can't contest, and in any case, what level of sickness are we looking at? Because you see clearly from Article 69(1) that it's not just infirmity of body or mind, but one that actually incapacitates you or makes you basically redundant. You can't perform your job. So it's not about just being unwell.
Yes.
You could be unwell but in the office, but if you're unwell to the extent that you cannot perform your functions, then it's grounds for that. So why this big deal?
Yes. I'm very happy you've quoted the Constitution because that is our guiding principle when we are doing this business. You see, I've seen who is the American president who was a cripple?
Johnson.
Yes.
DSR.
Yeah.
Is it Johnson?
One of them.
Roosevelt.
Yes, Roosevelt was a cripple.
Roosevelt.
You see, and the Americans saw it wise that when we are talking about governance, it is not macho. Let's get it right. Or how strong your legs are, or the power of your waist, but it's your power of your mind. So when they're talking about incapacity, that you will not be able to discharge your functions, they are talking about incapacity by reason of your mind. Let me tell you, that's the point of the matter. That is the incapacity. But if even you have a health challenge, and the health challenge will not incapacitate you in terms of your thinking capacities, I don't think anybody can say that then the person is not qualified to become a president. Now, what I see, with due respect to whoever is responsible for this kind of thing, is a very vile, cheap propaganda, given the timing and the rest of it. Because this is not our discourse. Be aware that even our former president who passed on, may his soul rest in peace, he had serious health challenges. I can tell you, at Chebi, you couldn't see me. It took one of the ladies to say, no, I'm telling you, I'm not lying, Professor Tamils, who taught me company law when I was there. He didn't see me. Yes. So, what are we talking about? And he said, oh, I have to run. Immediately, people, to make Ghanaians happy, he was challenged seriously. I had to run at the airport and the rest of it. Akufo-Addo, with due respect, I've campaigned with him. Akufo-Addo's energies, I'm telling you, at his age, is phenomenal. Let's get it right. He has never had the benefit of the presidential jet and the helicopters that are taking the younger man around. He's doing it on the road. Akufo-Addo goes anywhere. There are moments that I was very tired. I need to get out of the campaign. Far by far, a younger man. So look, if I'm not careful, I'm going to get sick and leave him. So if anybody is talking about Akufo-Addo's health at this critical hour, I become very saddened for the person. Well, this won't wash. This is not what is going to make people think that this man cannot be president. But if you want to make it part of our political culture, let's say so, that before you file nominations, we want the best surgeon in the world or whoever, maybe some Cromwell hospital or whatever hospital, to check your systems and be sure that you are sound in body. And then it's part of it. So it's like filing the tax, your tax system before, you go and file your nomination. If you want us to make it part of it. But it is distasteful, it is vile, I would even call it demonic for anybody at this critical hour. I was thinking that if you got your medical report, if you got his medical reports from wherever, do you know that's a huge, action against the hospital that would break confidentiality and then, give staff to not the patient's relations because maybe the patient is dead or, the man himself, but to a newspaper. This is a pathetic highland. We shouldn't take him serious.
So, Honorable, on that issue about the course of action, would Nana consider that?
Well, I do not think he has the luxury of time, to dignify this hollow propaganda. He's not going to do it. Akufo-Addo is shaking hands in the north, walking briskly. Nobody doubts that. Check it out. Go check all the videos that are going on. If a man is over 70 and his energy levels are what he's functioning by now, we should thank God for his life rather than trying to use this thing to sort of create an impression that maybe we have another Tamils at hand or something like that. It won't wash. He's very robust. His articulation is sound. His mind is very sound. And by the mercies of God, the wish they have for him will not happen. He will become the next president of the Republic of Ghana.
Very well. Mr. Johnson, I want to quote a part of this article, which is saying that it makes reference to what it calls a Mills syndrome. And it says, in this special report, Steve Mallory looks at how these serious health issues will impact the 2016 election campaign and whether Ghanaians are prepared to go through another Mills syndrome, where illness impaired former President Jonathan Mills' ability to properly steer the ship of state. That sudden death of a national leader, while still in power, left the country in a vulnerable place during the instant transition, one that would have been greatly eased if everything had been made public. Now, this suggests that there was some, cover-up, if you like, that indeed the president was well when indeed he wasn't. Well, at least this is what I'm getting from the article. But my question is, so if, yes, we subject the presidential candidates to a test by whichever independent panel of doctors or whoever, what are we looking at for? What would be the threshold? What would be the decision point that, okay, so you've been diagnosed with so-and-so, so you can't get into the office, or what?
I don't think it's a question of the fact that you've been diagnosed with a certain ailment. You cannot run as a presidential candidate. It is after you run and you've won, the effect of that illness going forward. So, if you have the beginnings of prostate cancer, initially, yes, you'd be strong, you'd have all your wits about you, you win the election, and that kind of ailment can catch you so fast that it can incapacitate you. And, I keep saying, the kind of government system we run does not help us. Because if you have a president who is incapacitated, then you get those around him who want to do what they want to do with the country, do what they want to do with the country. Typical example is President Atamils.
Oh, Buhari?
From the word go, the moment we realized he was a sick man, that was it. We should have, he, in his own conscience, as a servant of Ghana, should have said, I cannot run anymore. I cannot rule this country anymore because of ill health.
Like Mandela?
Yes, I'm giving up the mantle. Giving up the mantle. And I think someone's ailment or someone's illness, if you're not running for office, is your private thing. Private. You don't owe anybody anything to tell them. But the moment you put your leg forward to stand, and you know within yourself you're not well, then you owe it to the people.
But that one is a moral question, because currently nothing mandates the individual to...
Morality is everything in politics. Morality is everything in politics. If you have a president who is a womanizer, do you know the impact of his work? Have a president. When the champion was president, they said, for Tobaji, a golf. What didn't people say? So morality is the number one key. And if you feel within yourself, and let's face it, being a president is a service job. You're there to serve the people. The people would look to you for you to be able to do the things that would make their lives better. If you're incapacitated, how do you do that? Now, in this article, they have listed a litany of illnesses that allegedly Nana has. Kidney, prostate cancer, enlargement of the heart. These are serious ailments. Serious ailments. And for anybody, and my brother Atacha might not agree with me, for anybody, for any paper to list these things, I give myself up. Test me. You say I have an enlarged heart? Test me. Kolebu, test me. I have prostate? Test me. I have kidney? Test me. You put them to shame. The question I then ask is that the Wellington Hospital is no small hospital. No small hospital. And if they want to tell us that the information they have in there is right, they should tell us who they spoke to in the Wellington Hospital who gave them that information. Because it doesn't only create a bad feeling, but it also looks at the country as if we don't have people, or we don't know the people who are running for presidency. And I would expect that if not Nanado, the MPP will take them on. Will take them. Prove it to us. Because he is our flag bearer. He has proven to us that he doesn't have any of these ailments. Take it on. Take them on. And let's see. Let's get to the bottom of it. Because there is a certain percentage of Ghanaians who support Nanado. There's a certain percentage of Ghanaians who support Atam Mills. There's a certain percentage of Ghanaians who support Ivor Green Street. A certain percentage of Ghanaians who support Mahama and Kwesi Indom. So that constituency would need to be satisfied that the flag bearer they have is fit to do the job. Look, being a president is not easy. Look at Obama's hair. It's turned grey. Look at Mahama's hair. Mahama's hair is turned grey. It is not an easy job. The type of pressures that you go through, you need health to be able to make sure that you can do the work you're supposed to do. And so, if the MPP decide, okay, they're not taking it on, individuals take it on. Question them. Question them. Look, we have a flag bearer who is disabled. And I do agree, you don't need somebody who can walk to be a president. You need someone with the intellectual ability to be able to do what needs to be done. However, depending on the kind of ailment, that can put you in bed for days, where president's work is not done, it's done by others. That is
not the best.
Yes, it's not the best. So I believe that if we can, and if we can enshrine it in law, parliamentarians are here.
So that would, yes.
Yes.
And that's my next issue, Honorable. I'll come to you, but I also, you could touch on this, but I'll give you a substantive question which I want you to look at, which is, this is clearly something that needs a national conversation about, whether or not we want to have this become mandatory, so that if you're going to contest, then you need to do that. I know, for instance, France does that.
I think so.
And yes. So is it something we would want to do? Is
so.
that the way we want to go?
I think so.
Then yes. But until then, before you contest, I mean, it's a private thing, and how it's handled should be dealt with well.
Yes.
But yes, Honorable.
I think so, because
Briefly.
we've had an example of it. And the amounts of money we had to spend on President Atanos alone was plenty. And I think we've got to that stage. Look, let's move forward. Let's get to a stage where those people who come and stand, we don't have any, what do you call it, on them. We know that they are ready for the job. If we vote for them, they can do it. Because look, President Mahama would not be in power forever. Even President Nkrumah, who got this nation independence, is dead and gone.
Exactly.
He's dead and gone. What did he die of? He died of cancer.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
President Rawlings, who's the longest serving president, he's not there anymore. So it is not that you come into power and you're there forever. Not possible. One day, others will come into power. So I think it's important.
Sure. Honorable comrade, I have, see, clearly health is not, good health is not guaranteed. You never know what's going to happen to you. You may be fit 1 minute, the next minute you're gone. Same with death. You can't even say that because you're older, you're going to die earlier before the young person. You never know. So it's very uncertain. So how do we ensure that even if you get into the presidency with a clean bill of health, that during your term in office, you still have the support that is needed? And again, we have the example of the late Prophet, exactly, to learn from. I'm looking at systems in place that could give the needed support, you know, beyond... Sorry?
I said Mellers are now in Ethiopia is another example.
Right. So beyond coming in, so it's not just about you coming in, but you staying for the long haul and all that help that is needed and all of that. So your take on that?
For a moment when he talked about the fact that presidents agree, and I thought he wanted to make reference to even MPs who have completely agreed. You know,
those who don't have hair.
You see, you are taking sides now. If you have an MP,
you are taking sides. You are taking sides now. When they are hitting you, they are saying he's taking sides.
I'm just saying.
He calls me young man. Little did I know that there is someone who also call him young man, who he is completely great. You see, I remember when I was in Methodist DSS2. I remember we had one teacher we call Atakura, of blessed memory. He wrote Mark Antony's speech after Julius Caesar's murder, and I still remember. I memorized the entire speech, but I think that I just want to quote a portion of it, which he says that evil that men do leaves after them, the good is oft entered with their bones, so let it be with Caesar. The health of everybody is of paramount importance to that person first and foremost. The health of those who are public officers or seeking public office is also of equal importance, and people need to know. It's interesting that my good brother and senior colleague in Parliament is describing these things as wicked, as crude, and I'm wondering when Professor Mills was hounded, whether he was in Jupiter or he was in Kusumokaya. I never heard those same condemnations of the very leading members of the MPP, including leadership in Parliament, when they held series of press conferences hounding Prof. Mills. The extent to which you had a daily guide, a paper belonging to the MPP, publishing the palms of His Excellency the President. The extent to which, and I want to quote what Nana Akumia said. Nana Akumia said, and with your permission, I'll just paraphrase.
You're paraphrasing from, reading from the magazine?
No, but he said it on a radio station. I'm saying that it's a public statement. Even on Good Morning Ghana.
So you're not paraphrasing, that's what I'm saying, because you're referring to the magazine.
I'm just reading.
So you're reading from the magazine.
Yeah, from the magazine. And as a matter of fact, this was a statement he made. Even on Good Morning Ghana, he made a series of statements. Remember, he was the communication director of the MPP at that time. And he said that as fate would have it, members of the opposition MPP were fierce in their criticisms of Prof. Mills and his handlers regarding his health. They opened that Mills' true health status was kept secret in order to prevent calls for him to step aside as president. According to the MPP, Mills' ill health seriously affected his ability to govern the country before he died. Are you getting it? There were even open calls for him to make his medical records public. He went ahead. No wonder that 1 month after Mills' death, 1 month after his death, the NPP communication director, Nana Akumia, stated in a radio program in August 2012 that President Mills' health was handled in a manner that did not show candor, transparency, and integrity in governance. He accused the NDC of having gone to absurd lengths to perpetuate falsehood and lies on Ghanaians regarding Mills' health. But you see, I was with my mom. I left my mom's place 11:45 p.m. The next morning, my mom passed on. Anybody can die at any time. You may be sick and die, or you may not be sick and die, because when the time comes, you have to go.
And you can be sick whilst you're in
power.
Whilst
you are even in power. Now, the kind of statement, press conferences being held, hounded Prof. Mills, the extent to which
even after the death of the man, they will not allow him to rest. These were not foot soldiers of MPP who were attacking the man. These were leadership of the MPP. The minority even had a press conference on this issue. Now, if that was so wicked as he's trying to portray, if that was so unethical, I was expecting same sermon as he's preaching this morning. I was expecting same from him and from their leadership. Now, you also have a leading member to the extent that the day Prof. Mills left the country, and NDC Prof. Mills never denied that he wasn't well. And I remember a statement was issued. Yes, he has a routine checks anytime he was traveling. Nana Akufo-Addo issued a statement that was pregnant with sarcasm. And I can, if there's time, I can read even portion of the statement. Issued a statement wishing Prof. Mills well that was pregnant with sarcasm. Today is your turn. And again, please.
Please carry on.
I'm saying today the same statements are being made. You are repeatedly denying that the man is fit. He's telling us that he ran. Now, when you have one speech, one rest, and then you tell me that he's so physically fit to do campaign.
Okay, so
please.
Yes, it's out. Okay, yes.
I'm coming.
Yes.
I'm making that point. So you see,
point.
For me, it's a lesson to all of us. I can sit on this program the next day, you hear I'm dead. I can live here the next day, you hear I have been taken to Kolebu 37. You can walk and die. So we need to be very careful, and that is why I mean, when it comes to issues of health of politicians, issues of that's why I haven't made any public comment on this issue until today, because we all can force it. But you see, the moment you said you did something, people will begin to remind you. The extent to which even as recent.
For that.
Please. Oh no! I'm saying. Oh, I'm not. I'm just saying that people are talking about it. People are talking about it, and the condemnation. The sermon you had this morning.
What sermon?
You talked about how wicked, how crude that thing is. You had the same lips. You had the same reasoning. You were a lawyer by standing. You never used those words against your leading members of your party, including your leadership in minority. When they hounded the man to the extent after his death, they were still hounding him. But let me make this point. As recent as NDC campaign launch. In Cape Coast, they were still hounding the man. And in fact, you know the shocking aspect, even the very morning the man passed on, you had communicators of the MPP who were on radio who didn't know the man had died. They were hounding him on his health. And I'm saying that we need to move away.
Exactly.
Now you had but it doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it. We need to move away. You see, no, we not enjoy to set and for me, if there is the need for all of us, and I tell people, my constituency is not even a region, just a constituency, a small constituency. By the time you finish going around your constituency, he knows how exhaustive it is.
Campaign is not easy.
How exhaustive it is. Now the question then is, you had Ndum. Dr. Poposu Kwesindum, who said, look, he went, and then the doctor declared that he was fit.
But you see, even that one, you have issues about the independence of such a report, because then where's it coming from? And you're raising all those issues.
No,
so yes, he's done that.
Yes,
that's not necessarily mandated.
I am not saying that what he did was a justification to anything. But you see, for them trying tirelessly to push this down the throat of NDC, I think it's absurd.
Push what down the throat?
This publication. This same Africa Watch magazine published dangerous statement about His Excellency the President. They went to town. They MPP went to town with that publication, questioning the moral conduct of His Excellency the President, when he publicly stated, these are the number of children I have. If you have any evidence I have any child anywhere, bring it. They went to town with it. Now the same paper published stories about members of parliament. They went to town with it. Today, that paper belongs to NDC. And by the way, you have two papers that have published this story. Your two papers, you have the Free Press, and then the Daily Guide. They were the first papers to have published this. And Nanado stood somewhere in the north and said, they said I was a weed smoker, it didn't work. We didn't say it. The weed smoker thing came from MPP when you were contesting your presidential congress. That was when it came from, circulated by people who belong to Alan and co. And then you have attached, what's the name, the journalist, Ochiridaku, who said that, Nanado might have tested even weed when he was there. We didn't say it. Nobody ever said anywhere that Nanado was dead, but there was a story. And this thing was carried by MPP leading members, including MPP food soldiers, on their Facebook pages that Prof. Mills had died. This was. And again, nobody said Nanado is on wheelchairs. Nobody has said that. Now, if you are desperately trying that you're going to win sympathy votes out of it, it wouldn't work. The reason is simple. The NDC is not making mold out of it. The NDC is not doing politics with it. And if you observe, we are not commenting on it because we know how hurtful it is. When you begin to comment about the health of somebody, when you begin to publish the palms of somebody, the extent to which the family came out, it made serious statement. The circumstances and even the doctor, what led to the death of Prof. Mills. You people said no. And you people went ahead to accuse His Excellency the President for killing Prof. Mills. So who has given Nanadu cancer? If you got cancer. You're leading member. You want me to mention names?
We cannot be making those.
These are public statements. They held press conferences, please.
That the president killed.
But that can be. Let me tell you. The MPP, hold on. The MPP have made series of statements about Prof. Mills' health. Hold on. I have quoted what Nana Akumia said.
That's fine, yes. But
Nana Akumia was not just any person, a former member of parliament, former minister of state, communication director of the party. And I am saying that there are papers. Now tell me the two papers that earlier on published the stories. NPP papers. So why suddenly do they want to heap that on NDC? When they publish stories about His Excellency the President, they went to town with it.
But let me ask a question, Honorable.
Now
has the NPP accused NDC of this publication?
Oh yes.
I'm hearing for the first
time.
Oh,
hold on. Let me tell you those who did.
No. We don't need to.
Nana Akumia said on this same TV tray. Just 2 days today.
May I come in here?
Yeah.
You discussed the issue and then you made a point which resonates very well with me, which is that we don't even need to look at these issues. We should be looking at the bigger picture, not necessarily in these, but that's what I got from you.
But when you say
and that's what we should be doing.
When the MPP says that it's NDC, and that is why I've made a reference to the people who have
very
said
well. At this point, let me take some messages.
On the same program, you said it's NDC.
I don't know.
Sure.
But I can assure you that this is propaganda.
I will be taking some messages from viewers and listeners. This is Lukman Abubakari in Tantra Hills. He says Ghana needs to build stronger institutions to help avert the social canker of corruption, especially in our clergy. I believe strongly the old prof is right. There has never been smoke without fire. Let me state clearly and categorically that Prof. Mate should, for the love of the country and for the fear of God, name and shame those who intended bribing him off. Eric from Accra said Reverend Martin was at former President Kufuor's house to solve NPP's problem. Why couldn't he solve the general problem between both parties? And another one saying, Abna, what's wrong? Considering the tedious nature of the work of a president, it is just appropriate that people aspiring to hold high office of the land or hold the high office of the land have their medical status declared. This must not be politicized and must be mandatory. That notwithstanding, it's not every medical condition that makes one incapable of performing his role as president, a member of parliament, etc. In any case, people applying to enter our schools and security agencies go through a mandatory medical examination, so why not the presidency? And this is Steve. TK in Sunyani says, Abna, it's only in corrupt societies where the truth becomes controversial. I know. You never know what's true anymore. Please, what killed the former president? Do we know? Did it ever occur to you that he names a person here will ever die? I'm not going to mention that name, but essentially what you're saying is nobody knows when you're going to go. So we should look at the issue within the bigger context. Good morning, Abna. Nanado's health is a propaganda by the NDC people. They keep deceiving people, saying Nanado will die since 2012 and up to date. It says, who is God among them will know that Nana will die. Who's on this? I'm sorry, I can't really make head or tail of it. If you could resend, perhaps I'll take that again. It says, I think it's right for presidential candidates to declare their health status, but Ghanaians will always make politics out of it. I advise they keep it confidential, whether sick or healthy. This is by Innocent from Nungwa. And another one saying, Abna, there are a few questions about Africa Watch, the Africa Watch publication that we need to interrogate. He's saying here that mentioned Steve Mallory, managing editor of the Africa Watch, is a good friend of Nanado. Well, we can't verify that for sure. We can't verify that for sure. So why should Nanado subject himself to a medical examination because a newspaper or a magazine alleges he is unwell? I think it would be fair to say all the candidates should go through this medical examination, but not just Nanado. How about the allegations of corruption on the certain precedent? Let's broaden the discussions. And this is Kwesi Boache in Kwesi Boache Echampon. I think I need to pick on this message, which is saying, I mean, why just Nanado? If we're going the full haul, then they might as well. I mean, cast the net wide.
I hold a humble view that it's God's endowment. Some people might not even eat the levels of food you eat, but they are stronger than you, who is so much conscious of salads and the greens and the rest of them. But with all respect to whoever, and whatever the motive, somebody saying that this is Nanado's good friend who has done this. Is it the reward for having a friendship by publishing this kind of vile propaganda at the very critical hour that they are doing business? Let's move from those areas. Because if you want to subject them to critical analysis and maybe get the Surgeon General to do whatever stuff, let them all then march then, and then they'll be fair and genuine. But the malafides of this gentleman is so clear. And I don't know who the paymaster is. It's a disgraceful individual.
Sure.
Going forward, I think that, you see, when the late Prof died, after that, as a nation, I thought there would have been an inquiry. And I think we still need an inquiry. Though as sensitive as it is, because you can never know where you are going until you know where you're coming from.
You want bipartisan?
Well, bipartisan, I don't know, but I honestly feel that as a nation, because you see, the Prof did not die. You see, people keep talking about the sensitivity to family, but he was our family too. He was my leader. No, my brother, that's not what we're talking. There was autopsy. There was, what I'm saying is that Prof
Conrad, please, let him make his point.
Our leader. Prof was my president. He died under circumstances that, up to today, is shrouded in a lot of speculation. Wow. The instances, how he went to 37, the mode in which he got to 37, there are so many stories out there.
Very well.
As a nation, we think that if we want to have lessons for future presidents, we should learn our lessons from what happened to the past and put measures in place. Because if we don't do that, how do we move forward?
Very well. Mr. Jantua, do you think we need to do this inquisition into that, or
inquisition into
the circumstances surrounding the death of the late?
I think time has passed by.
Is that the topic now?
No, we are wrapping up, and so we're talking about moving forward.
I think the most important thing is to have the best infrastructure, medical infrastructure in place, not only for the president, but for every Ghanaian.
Right.
So that we don't expend money flying our presidents and whoever out. The infrastructure is key. Let's learn from what has happened to Professor Mills. Let us be morally upright with ourselves, that they are giving me a position. I know I'm not well. Let me come up and say, I cannot do it because I have an ailment that in future may stop me from doing what I'm supposed to do. It's no big deal.
Very well.
It's no big deal. But for me, let's put the infrastructure in place. Look, President Kufuor, who is my uncle, his ailment came from, part of it came from the accident he had on that main road. Have we learned from it? Did we learn from it? Did we actually learn from it? So let's make sure that we have the infrastructure in place. Let's make sure that, and the other thing that also has come to mind, yes, is that we should give our presidents the length of time to have a holiday.
Very well. Comrade, your last final thoughts on this, and then we move on.
No, they should have breaks. But other presidents have breaks. Obama has a break. All of them have breaks.
I'm surprised that the topic is now on an inquisition.
It's not on an inquisition. Nobody has made it. Please, your final thoughts, and then we go. I was just bouncing it off, Mr. Jantua.
It was my humble suggestion.
Just your final thoughts on it, and then we go.
In the first place, why? The death.
That is his opinion.
Can I
just give us your opinion?
The death. You asked him on inquisition. That's why I'm amazed. The death of, there was absolute conclusion on the issue of the death of Prof. Mills, except that you are doubting the autopsy. If you are doubting the autopsy, then you have any other reason to doubt the autopsy. That is one. Two, the same logic that was espoused here, that there's an allegation against the president, and that why is it that the speaker did not want it to be investigated? I think the same standard is put here. There is an allegation and a publication about cancer. Can I finish? Cancer. Let him go and test.
Say thank
and we'll
you.
put to rest this issue.
Thank you very much, comrade. Thank you very much. And thanks to you, viewers and listeners, for making a date with us. Again, as usual, we do appreciate your time, and we'll be back your way same time next week. But until then, another thank you to our panelists, Honorable Atachia, Mr. Kojopoku, Mr. Kwame Jantua, and Honorable Mutala Mohammed. Do have yourselves a very good weekend and a productive week. We'll see you.
And good luck to Black Stars
Bye-bye.
today.
Oh, Black